Oh my gosh! I hope this works. Oh my good Lord. So, hello. Hopefully I can get Lou Martin on with us today. He's just tried with me. We're going to talk about awaken your true self. And we need us working together, me and him. So hello. I hope this works. Oh my good Lord. Hello. Lou and I want to work together on this one, and Facebook in all its glory is making this a little bit difficult. So what I would love from you, let's put our minds together and send good vibes that we can do this the way we want to. So it says, oh my gosh, it says they can't join at the moment. Oh my good Lord. I ain't given up, and I know Lou isn't a giver-upper, and I know you're not a giver-upper, so I'm going to try this again. Lou wants to be on your video. Let's see if it works. Cross your fingers, send good vibes that it works. Is he here? If not, good Lord, I don't know what to do. It says adding. Why is this the case always with us? Hello. Anyway, how are you? How is your Sunday? What would you like to talk about? And if you would like to ask either of us a question, put a Q in the box and then your question. And keep it in mind in the event we have to come off and come back on again, because that would be frustrating for us all. But again, I'm not giving up. And I know Lou isn't either. So let's see. Where is he? It says connecting. Yay!
How about now?
Oh my gosh. We're here, Lou.
We did it?
We did it. Can you see me and
Brilliant.
hear me?
Yes, we're there. It said to turn my phone sideways. So that was the mystery.
Okay. So
we've done it. I'm
going to share us on my page, my other page.
Wait, I just lost your... Okay. Okay, I have your audio.
Good. Hello. Oh my gosh, it's a man plans and God laughs, I think. Are we working?
Right. Yes, it's okay for me right now. I have you. Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Good.
There's a little delay, but I have you.
What are we going to talk about?
Yeah, great. Awakening your true self, awakening the species, Neil Donald Walsh. Yeah?
Yes.
So tell me,
so what qualifies
first of all,
us to
thank
talk
you.
About this, I would ask.
Well, after you, my friend, I want to hear how you got into Neil Walsh. That would be exciting for me.
Okay, wow. So, proximity list. So I have a proximity list of people who inspire me. You're one of them.
Right. Thank you. Likewise.
Watch their videos or read their books or go to their live shows or whatever it might be. And I was on Oprah on YouTube, and he popped up. And it was, interestingly, it was the same experience I had when you popped up on my feed once. And I thought, what a nice face.
Right.
It's the same experience. Same with my Grandpa Jack, actually. What a nice face.
Very good.
I already liked him, so I just pressed play. And there he was talking about, so it's Neil, Neale, Donald Walsh.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
This
was
only yesterday, I think.
Okay.
It was only yesterday I came across him and then messaged you saying, do you know him? And then told all of my trainees about it yesterday when we did our workshop.
Yes.
So what was the first video? I can't remember, but I quoted him all over Facebook. The bit that I saw about 3 videos. He was talking about the fact that until he was, I think, I remember thinking, it happened for me before you. My little ego went crazy. I think he said until I was 40 or 45, I lived a life all about me, and so immediately I identified and thought probably most people would. And he said, although he was successful on occasion, although he was happy on occasion, he sort of had a come to
Yeah.
Jesus moment where he was saying, why is my happiness or my success not sustainable? Like, what am I doing wrong? And he said, although he was generous in part, sometimes would help others and so on, he was more about himself and what he needed to do to gather more. And then, what did he say? That he spoke to God, who said, something
Well, he
like,
said
your life is not about you. It's about how you touch the lives of, it's about you touching the lives of others and the way you touch their lives. Something like that. And I was just hooked immediately.
Right. Yes, your life is not about you is one of the most powerful statements I've ever heard. And I just heard him say that for the first time recently.
Yes.
You know, yeah. No, it's true. His story is amazing, Poppy. He was homeless. He was in a car accident and he broke his neck. And between one thing and another, he lost his apartment and he lived in a tent for a year. Then he got a job and he got into another place. And then I think it was after he had lost that job, getting into a place again for the first time in a year. That's when he said, he cried out to God basically and said, "Is there an answer to this?" And God said in his head, "Neil, do you really want the answer, or are you just complaining?" And Neil said, yes, exactly. It's a great story. It's one of the best stories I've ever heard. And Neil said, yes, if there are answers, please help me. I want them. And so he got out his yellow legal pad. And I think there are now 9 Conversations with God books. I was just re-listening to that information. So, yeah, I mean, he's, as I said, I've seen him speak in person twice at Agape. And I think I've read about 10 of his books. He has 30 altogether because he's got So I mean he's totally dedicated, and actually it was why I was so excited to chat with you about this, because I'm really up on my Neil Walsh at the moment, and he's just also done. There's do you know the Mind Valley online training, right? This is this Indian chap Vinisha is very gifted, and he's put a lot of great teachers. So Neil has been his big inspiration to begin his whole journey. He was saying Neil has been his favorite mentor as he's brought all these other teachers out. So he and Neil have also done a program together. And so their most recent program was talking about book 4, which I want to get into here with you, but that's a little bit of the flavor of it. Yeah.
Tell me who's he? I missed that bit.
The chap who runs, I don't know his name, Mind Valley Institute, Venisha, something like this. He's Indian. And so he's created these online classes with Michael Beckwith is on that program, and Sam Isadora and other very good teachers.
People.
Yeah. But he said Neil was the big inspiration for him to really trust his vision for himself to create this online training program, and he's helped thousands of people find their path. So he's a great inspiration.
Well, so how's about this? How about you and I channel him and ourselves and each other and anybody else who wants to join our experience of this issue, primarily how you find yourself, your mission, your passion, your vision, and just talk away. And then in the process, people can ask questions of us and we could do our best to help. Because for me, this is we touched on it a bit last time. The phenomenon in our culture is most people, I think, are existing and wondering to whatever degree, is this it? Is there better? Help, basically. And a lot of people are really anxiously getting busy doing the little things, so we don't have to focus on the fact that there is this part of us going, hello, I have some stuff to say, but we don't want to listen. So how about we do that, is open it up to questions as we go. Uh,
Of course.
for you guys to ask any question, put a Q in the box in your question for us, and we can share the wealth as best as we can, learn from each
Yes,
other. We're all students. That cool?
right there it is from, yes, perfect, from Lawrence, Vishai Lakhiri, Mind Valley. Yeah, I have
Thanks,
to
Lauren.
practice.
Brilliant.
Yes, yes. Vishal, one of
Yeah.
those. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, it's why you and I got guided to connect with each other, and here we're doing this great dance every couple weeks, which is really just such a joy. And you know, we, as my guides say, we all have a foot in two worlds right now, which
Yeah.
is, you know, the mundane world and then the mystical world. And you know, everyone is going to, like you and I have done. Everyone approaches these challenges in our own way. But I think what we have in common, Poppy, is that you and I have both had this great, you know, awakening experience over and over again, that we do know how to go deep inside of ourselves and find that that grace and that peace and that love and light that is there, I believe, in everyone's heart, and to open up to that and to let that then heal our minds and change our outlook, and then give ourselves permission to experiment with that in changing our lives. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, for sure, I think. And I guess to say a bit about you and I is, you know, for those that don't know either of us or one of us, Lou, you're
Sure.
a channel. I would say
Right.
one of the best therapists you're going to meet, and you're not a therapist, you're just a visionary man who's kind, and such humility you approach humans, and it's just beautiful. I love
Thank
that
you.
about you.
Thank you,
And
hon.
I'm a
Thank you, dear.
psychologist.
Well, you're more than that, sweetheart. You're truly more than that as well. Yeah.
Well, I'm a
You
person
know, you're,
who has been through it, and
well,
I
honey,
guess this is the point.
yeah, you're passionate in your truth, and you're passionate in your joy, and you're passionate in your desire to help people to awaken to their power. That's what I see.
Yeah, and I guess in there, and this is where anger can be a good motivator, is I'm passionate
Sure.
about people living their true potential, essentially. Because what I know about
Yeah.
this, what we're talking about, is to varying degrees, everybody in their life has these kind of pinch moments that get louder and louder and louder that say something's wrong. And
Sure.
again, I'm going to quote Andy White in his book, Going Mad to Stay Sane, brilliant book, like this big, Andy White, who says, when the fool exists in the folly, he will eventually become wise. I think the painful thing for most of us, I think, is that the lesson
Yeah.
or the sort of indicator that something's wrong gets louder and louder and more serious and more devastating the longer we leave it to listen to the internal voice, or God or spirit or intuition, or however you want to look at it, all of that, to say
Yeah.
something's up and I need to approach this differently. And in my experience as a psychotherapist,
Sure.
psychologist, coach, and I'm sure yours, it often gets, this is why we say rock bottom, it often gets so overwhelming that life in its glory stops us in our tracks, and then we go, oh, maybe there's something else I'm missing here.
Sure. That's right. That's right. Well, you know, from my guides, the heart knows what the mind struggles to believe. And until we reach the limits every day, for all of us, myself included, I'm sure for you as well, until I reach the limits of my old thinking or my old beliefs or my old ways of perceiving things, you know, I'm very unwilling and uncomfortable with the whole concept of change and surrender and trust and vulnerability. But that is where the healing and the awakening happens, is letting go of control. And, you know, what you said about humility, I feel that that's, you know, when I saw Neil in person, I mean, my God, he's just having such a great time, you know,
I
and this
can't
is the
believe you drove.
consistent
Well,
thing.
of course I can. When did you see
Sure.
him in person?
Well, you know, I mean, I lived in LA there for 30 years. So from
Okay.
the 70s to 2006 or so. So, you know, whatever that was. And that was such a great time of awakening about all these teachers and teachings. I mean, I remember I was living in Kansas City when the first Conversations book came out, and one of my dearest and most spiritual friends said, "You have to read this thing," and it was like, okay, and eventually I got around to it, and for everyone who's read these books, from the word go, it just blows your mind. There's such clarity.
That makes me think, actually, and you'll know which book that is. Who knows about Neil? Put a little hand emoji, or a yes, or maybe I'd like to. One of the things, I think it was the second video I saw, there was a book of his, and it's purple with yellow writing, and somebody, the sort of narrator of the video, was saying, once you've read this book, everything makes sense about life, about death, about purpose, actually,
right,
it was either him or somebody else on the video saying, when I learned the teachings or the writing in this book, I had no more fear, because I knew that everything is about when you get to a place where either you've lost everything or something happens in life finally where it clicks, where you say, actually, if I love me, if I accept me, I don't have to live this fear-based life that says I have to make you love me and you can't leave me, and if I lose you, and if I say something and you reject me, and this panic place that often we're in, was saying, once you realize that you're okay, if someone doesn't like you or love you, okay, painful as it is, that won't crush me, that won't kill me, that won't make me mad. And at that point, you're free.
Right.
Is that fair?
Right. So, no, that's good. That's good. We're talking about Neil Donald Walsh, the author of Conversations with God. And like all of the great mystics, absolutely, that's why it's this dance between the head and the heart, between humility and vulnerability and authenticity and sincerity and intimacy versus domination and control and intimidation and greed and selfishness and all the rest of it. Manipulation, seduction, all of those things. So it's the difference, what's the line? Surrender is realizing that you are truly free, and control is the belief that you're not free. You see, that you can't, everyone in our victim consciousness, and Neil talks about this with God, says, I don't have a choice and there is no choice and I have to do this, etc. But what Neil, there's so much wisdom. You can imagine 9 books of conversations, basically, and then another 20 expanding on these ideas. So, the points that you made earlier, that if you will just take this on board, everyone, this wisdom can truly change your life. It's done that for me many times. That's why I love talking about it. But again, hon, it's like, getting out of our own way, being in the present moment. I've listened to your talks last week. They're wonderful. I really am enjoying your work there. Yeah, it's so inspiring, and you're so in the moment. So, in all these new energies and all these new possibilities and all these things that are happening right now, individually and collectively, humanity is really being asked to awaken spiritually. And of course, each one of us gets to decide what that looks like and what that feels like. But we'll know we're making progress because our life gets better and better.
So what I'm thinking is about people watching, and I imagine what would be powerful for people who identify with this is, what is it that has people realize that now's the time to be more truthful, to be more me, to take more risks, to connect more with people, the risk of, if I reach out, what if I'm burnt? What if I'm rejected? If I'm me? Because I guess what I teach is, if we're not living in a way that is authentic, i.e. what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking and how I'm behaving is in alignment, it's the same. What you see is what you get. When we're not in that place, we're living always untruth, and it's a setup because we don't know who gives a damn, because we're not showing people who we are. So we can't ever feel secure because we don't know if they like us or love us or believe in us or, anything. But of course, the majority of people find it really difficult even to say, I'm important enough to let you know that you're important to me. A lot of people won't reach out even positively. So what would you say to that has to happen in order for us to take more risks? Or what would you say, do you think?
Sure. Paradox, I'll start with myself if I can, and then come to Neil if I can. Paradox is that I can only give to you those things that I'm willing to offer to myself. If I'm right. Thank you. Okay, good. Is that what we do? Okay.
Hand up.
And thank you. Okay. And Neil, Neil in his channelings with God, God says it's very simple. Very much what Abraham says and all the teachers. God says through Neil, I am offering to you all of the time, all of the guidance, love, and support that you could want, but you must trust yourself and trust your truth in order for you to know that that's so. And so that's why truth is so critically important for all of us right now, because if we're living a lie or pretending to be something that's not genuine to who we are, then that is that illusion of separation that disconnects us from really trusting the truth as we perceive it in our heart. But if we're being good to ourselves, treating others the way we want to be treated, acting with integrity and honesty and responsibility to the best of our ability, and asking for help, for guidance, for love, for support, for opportunity, for healing, whatever our hearts desire or require, and know that we deserve that, then we will receive that guidance, that love, that healing. So, it's very, very simple, but it does require daily practice.
Yeah, and I guess, the mind-blowing bit, I think, for many people to get their head around is the discrepancy or the huge difference between doing for others from a defensive place that says, I get my worth from this, and therefore, if I help you, you'll help validate me, I'll feel important. It's often not conscious, but because so many people give and give and give, and yet they don't receive in any way, and they exhaust themselves, get resentful. So essentially the way I see it, which is still forming in its infancy, is the behavior is often the same, but the intention is more enlightened, i.e., for me, if I talk about me, I've always been, more justice for others, really. That was the tipping point, is I'll give to you because I have a sense of, how it is to not have, or whatever it is. And it would come from a sort of overcompensatory place where I didn't give enough, therefore my giving was peppered with lack, which often would it would get me into trouble, because sometimes I couldn't see people clearly for my own stuff. So I would sometimes give in a way that I guess was suffocating in ways, because that person doesn't necessarily want what I want for them. So it's, I'm swimming around in other people's stuff and not seeing them. It also depleted me. I got resentful, and then I went mad, ultimately.
Yes, of course, because it doesn't work.
No, but today, more healthy sort of version is I still have the same love and compassion and want to give, but it's about knowing that you must do that from a place where you have justice and love for you. So for me, the tipping point, and it was like profound. I think I've said this with you on a live before, actually, was I helped somebody and I was stood with him and my brain was like, tick, 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 tick. I'm beginning almost to resent this, because I'd taken huge amounts of time out of my day to go and support it, to do this, to do that, to do the other. And I looked at him and I thought, I need to ask for something for me in return, because this is an energy exchange. I've really helped, but I'm not a martyr and I'm not God. So I said to him,
that's right.
I need something, basically. And for me, that opened the doors to connecting with what then became my coach, because he helped me do that. That was his offering, was I know a chap who could help, blah, blah, blah. And then the doors open everywhere.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the kind of place where there's a tipping point between I'm just going to give because I'm a giver and I'm depleted and I have nothing and I hate you for taking from me. Ultimately, there's a bit of us that gets resentful.
Yeah, honey.
And this place where we say,
of course,
I want to give fully, but equally, I love me enough to say, this is an important exchange and this is what I require, or here's my boundaries of what's okay and what's not okay. Without that, we are really, really in trouble. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's right. Oh, that's right. No, you're saying it very beautifully. And
does
I'm
that
sure
make sense
many
to others?
people...
Let me know if it does. Let us know.
Yeah. 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 You see, should, right? You and I have talked about what a poisonous word the word should is, because to be a good person, you should this and you should that and you should the other. And it's usually the work of the critical parent that is trying to, bully us and intimidate us and guilt us into doing nice things, the right things, the good things, etc. But like you said, if I come from a place of duty and obligation, and I resent that I'm being asked to do these things, or I resent how much I've done them and how little I feel I've received in return, whatever, then I'm holding the balance of things. I'm overly conscious of the balance of things. Whereas when we're in love, when we're in the dance, when we're in music, when we're in passion, when we're in surrender, when we're in channeling mode, whatever, we're just giving because that's who we are. That's what we want to be doing, dancing and singing and making love and creating and writing and whatever. Fantastic. So that is, to come to the theme, that is our true self. Our true self is that unconditional, loving, passionate, compassionate, caring, deeply liberated part of who we are that wants to heal the mind, the body, the illusions of separation, all those things. But again, it's not going to interfere with our free will. We have to, crawl up to that altar on our knees and give ourselves, I want to be my best self and I want to give my best self. Whatever prayer, whatever intention, whatever affirmation we make, that's that commitment to open the door of our heart to ourselves and each other allows us to know that we deserve to receive as well as want to give.
Absolutely. And I think that instinct, sort of knowing self, compassionate self, never doubts like ego does. So, if I think about how it makes sense in my mind to break it down, what we're saying, one is the inner knowing that's always there. What's right for me? What serves me? What's not right for me? What's going to hurt me? What is hurting me? What I want, but I don't ask, that kind of stuff is,
right.
Instinct mixed with a bit of healthy ego, I suppose. And then there is
the
ego stuff of, the stuff that's designed to support us or keep us safe, which is I am what you think I am. I am what you want me to be. All that stuff that backfires, obviously, because I've got no clue what you want. It's a projection. So when you say the critical parent, the way I see that, again, this is my psychology stuff, is the super ego, the part of us that has the internalized critic that, again, is designed to protect us, but it keeps us stuck and small. Who are you to think that you could do that? Or somebody else is better qualified, or you're not attractive enough or intelligent enough. So, we've got that critical self, which is often learned from parents, but often it's the sort of, old brain that is designed to protect us, that doubt of don't get eaten alive by someone else's whatever. But so there's kind of, as I see it, three parts of us. One is the critical, one is the sort of alive and conscious, and the other is the real instinct, the primitive that says, this doesn't work, or it does, and I need to protect myself, and therefore I can give from a place that I'm telling you what's okay, what's not okay, what I can do and what I can't do. I'm not going to fool you. I'm going to be me, and that's okay. And most of us listen to the other two.
Sure.
And screw it up, royally.
Yeah. I think the only thing to add to what you've said is the intuition.
That's what I mean. The instinct, the intuition.
Yeah.
Do you see that as the same?
Okay. No, because not entirely, because the intuition, the instinct is, I see they're similar, absolutely.
Forgive me. Yes, I agree with you, Lou. Sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I think
confusing things.
The instinct is like the animal.
Yeah, I'm using it interchangeably, which is confusing. So the primitive,
sure.
And then the instinct, which is informed by intuition, two different parts of us.
Right. The way I think Neil and God describe it in the books, is that here's what I want to say. What you said was really helpful, was really positive. I just want to put things in context for a second. We're all making the biggest change in this moment of this lifetime that any group of people have ever attempted to make in any version of human civilization. That's basically what they've said. But the other part of it is, and what it gets into in book 4 of Conversations, is to understand the awakening of the species. There are these highly evolved beings. God calls them HEBs or HEBs. So there are these highly evolved civilizations that are way ahead of where we're at, that are, this is what I wanted to talk about with you, that are available, the Pleiadians, the Syrians, the Andromedans, however you want to look at them, the beings of light, the future self, the higher self, etc., the spirits that have passed over, etc., the masters. There are as Abraham says, everyone who has existed in the physical still exists, because time and space are illusions. They're not the biggest picture of reality, right? And we're making this shift in consciousness that speaks to what you just said, which is when we learn that our intuition is our connection to eternity, that which was always true, is true, and will always be true, then we can transcend the wounded ego. You see, the conditions of time and space and good and bad and right and wrong and all that. We see them, but we're not utterly defined by them. And so the wisdom that we're all learning to tap into from 2018 onward here is the higher self is now, running our lives more consciously, more elegantly, more deliberately, because we've begun to remember that we are not alone, and that the intuition, our loving heart, our wise and loving heart, is the truth of who we are. And so all of this mysticism is to help us to remember to do that.
Yeah, and I think I would say I'd love us to put our brains together here. That's undeniable that, more and more people, even very, very cognitive people, very sort of intellectual people, it's undeniable that what we're being, confronted with different, higher powers from an ego perspective, governments, for example, but also all the changes environmentally and so on. So many of us are being confronted with, you can't, we've got to really be working hard to anesthetize ourselves against the abomination that we're putting ourselves under, this kind of, it's undeniable for so many people who even are invested in, let's just get along, let's just tick the boxes, let's just make the money, let's just pay the rent. There's again, in my field, there's a sort of breakout consciously that is just only, it's only how it can be ultimately. More people are depressed, more people are having breakdowns, more people are desperate, more people are coming out to say, I cannot hold this anymore. And therein lies the freedom from this stuff.
Yes, right. That's right. We're condemned to be free, as Albert Camus said. Yes.
Who says this?
Yes. Albert Camus, the great existential novelist back in France in the 40s and 50s.
Maybe point.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, again, what's true, it's like, reading Rumi 1,000 years ago,
The
still
poem.
relevant today.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shakespeare, even though no one named William Shakespeare wrote those plays, in my opinion, but those plays are brilliant and genius and all of that. Uh, you know, um, there's a lot of wisdom, the indigenous cultures, there's so much wisdom on the planet, and to me wisdom is this oneness, do you see, that where we recognize ourselves in each other more deeply, and we're inspired by that, and moved by that.
What would you say shifted? Because, it's again undeniable. This script, this consciousness has been around. Oh my gosh. What would you say is shifting for us, that more people are saying, oh my God, where's my tribe? I cannot survive without people who think like me. There's got to be better. Panic. What
Sure,
would you say is
sure.
shaking everybody up now?
Well, it's because literally the physical vibration of the planet keeps going up and up and up. And this is the shift of dimensions. This is the Kali Yugas, the shift of the ages, the precession of the equinoxes,
So
the great wheel.
can you say that? Uh, can you break it down so that, because some people will instinctively know, intuitively know, oh God, yeah. And some people go, what? Because it's
Well,
affecting all of us. But could you like slow it down a bit for the...
sure, I'll do my human best, absolutely, to make it fun and simple and easy. I mean, you don't have to understand the cosmic reasons, but basically what we must respect in order to live on this planet is how to work consciously with the energies of our world. That's the simplest way, that I can say it. And so we can see again, since the solar eclipse of August 21st last year, we had, in the space of 2 months, we had like a dozen cataclysmic, worldwide, earth-shaking events that, shootings and earthquakes and floods and hurricanes and, forest fires and all these things, boom, 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 boom. So it's like when these things, this is what the indigenous cultures have been telling us. In the time of awakening and purification, there would be these great signs that would begin to happen in the wide world that would say, you are in a different time and you must now, in quotes, learn to respond from your spirit and not just your mind or your ego.
So how does that translate? I'm asking partly for people who wouldn't necessarily know this, and for me.
Sure, honey, sure.
How do we know that?
Well,
It's just sort of happening magically within us, or how are we just waking like this?
well, you see, you and I are that's why people are tuning in, sweetheart, and that's why we're all in our tribe here together. You're in San Diego and I'm in Cork, Ireland,
Yeah.
and we're having a great little chat on a Sunday afternoon, evening here, morning, because we're all being called into this vibration of healing and awakening, is the way my guides put it. And so, we, are taking this, we're putting this puzzle together one little piece at a time, and you have your part of it, I have mine, and everyone on the call here, Ariel, Devora, Mira, they all have their pieces of the puzzle. So, we can't, as my guides say, proof is the greatest illusion in our world. There really is nothing objective as proof, because everyone will subjectively prove to themselves what we believe to be true. And that is our proof. And that your truth will not be mine, your proof will not necessarily be mine. But where we agree, where our hearts open up to each other and we agree, and that is the proof, you see, it's all subjective, is where we go, I believe that. That's right for me. That feels right. And so, you're sharing from your experience and your training and all of that, which is wonderful, me from mine, etc. And then everyone is going to take from this conversation what they are looking for that fits their belief system that they're ready to hear.
So what would you say is happening within us? Because again, we've got 40 people on. We know that so many people are identifying with this. It's like, oh, you're human too. You need connection more than you get it to, oh, okay, I can't be wrong. My madness is not for nothing then. What would you say is happening within us that we're gravitating toward hearing that more?
Well, I think for me, personally, it is that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And
so
the
what's
whole
waking
idea
us up?
of, well, it's the emotion of love, of course. I mean, love is really what it's all about. And when we see the earth wounded, or we see womankind wounded, or we see minorities wounded, or the poor wounded, etc., it's an attack on our own sense of our own dignity and worth and safety and sacredness. And so, you know, that motivates us to say, well, I don't want to live in a world that's ugly and painful and fearful like this. I want to live in a world that is compassionate and kind and caring and generous and just. So we are dancing with all this information and all these energies and all this feedback, and we're learning to every day, what is the piece of the puzzle that I need to work with today? So, like, honestly, for me, you know, with your work, Tony Robbins, you know, NLP, all the kinds of things that you share and you studied, etc., and me with my stuff, the channeling and all of that, Lazarus and Abraham, etc., you know, the essence of it is empowerment. You know, how to feel like I have more power in my life personally, so that I am inspired and empowered to do the things that I care about that give my life meaning. So, you know, that's a part of it too. It's not enough just to be running after paying the bills or looking for love or sex or money or whatever it might be any longer.
You know, bullying.
Yes.
You know, so this is how I see things, is that it's as if we are the kid at school who was bullied, and people knew it, but for whatever reason didn't have the integrity to step up and say, I see what's happening and this is unjust. And it feels like collectively what we're doing as a planet is beginning to step up and say, this is not okay. And our relatives, loved one, culture, who cares if it's culture, but humans are being hurt no more. And I'm curious about what's going on, that finally we're all growing a pair, basically. Something shifted, because people have been being abused and suppressed for decades and hundreds of years. So what's changing that we're suddenly going, I'm going to be part of the gang that says everyone's being bullied and I'm not going to be the minority. The majority is going to be the people who say it is not okay to shame people and hurt people. We're a collective and we're strong as a collective. So it's like we've all turned on the bully, if that makes sense.
Sure.
That's kind of how I see it.
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, again, I can only give you my perspective, you know, my belief and experience about all of this. But, you know, I had a chat with a friend yesterday, a couple days ago, who shared with me that she's like in her late 30s now. She's a beautiful musician. And she shared with me that, and she'd never shared this with anyone. You know, this is anonymous, so I can say it in this way, that when she was in her early 20s, she had a near-death experience from drugs. She was at a party and she passed out, and when she woke up, she could see that everyone was so freaked out that they had really thought that she was dead, and she was probably dead for a while. And you know, these experiences that we go through are shocking and upsetting and disturbing, but they get our attention. And you see, that's what, you know, God is everywhere present, but never interfering with our free will. So if we don't value our feelings and our safety, our worth, our life, etc., you know, God's not going to interfere with that. You know, this is this great lesson that we come to planet Earth to understand, which is so profound and so deep, which is you are sacred, life is sacred, and if you learn to work with that and trust that and honor that, you will be blessed. But if you deny that or don't believe that or dishonor that, you will have some big problems to face. So that's, you know, we're waking up to our spiritual nature. I mean, there isn't anything else happening on this planet as far as I'm concerned. Everything else is background. We are awakening to our spiritual nature.
And do you feel, am I pushing you too much? Am I
No,
on you?
you're fine. You're a
Lulu,
joy.
tell us. Are you
Well, I'll
saying
do my best.
are you saying from your perspective, the shift, the change is a cosmic one, a universal one, an
Yes,
energy one?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's why I was talking about the yugas that the Hindus talk about, the precession of the equinox, the 26,000-year cycle. You know, I'm a big fan of this website, Gaia, GAIA.com.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've mentioned. And they have tons of great interviews and documentaries. I'm sure many people out there know this station, this website. And, you know, one of the great undiscussed facts of our life right now is that throughout the entire world, ancient civilizations and pyramids and sites and Göbekli Tepe and Turkey and Antarctica and throughout the world, thousands and thousands of years of human history that have been hidden away and sort of airbrushed out of our picture of reality are beginning to come back into the consciousness of everyone who's open to learn about these things. And they are saying basically very simply, as David Icke and many others have said, that humanity has been here for millions of years. You know, this is not just the last 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 years. So if that's the case, then what we think of as reality is quite different from, you know, the little world, the little bubble that we've been living in. So again, these things are not, you know, these things are there helping us to decide the kind of reality or really the kind of civilization, the kind of new earth that we want to create. So this is what Lazarus has been teaching us, that there were, you know, there was Atlantis, Lemuria, and our current civilization, and that we are at the cusp of building the next version of our civilization, which will be different than the current version that we're living in right now, because like you've said there about the world, there are so many false beliefs, limited beliefs, painful, fearful, bullying beliefs,
Sabotaging.
That the earth, the earth is simply not going to be able to sustain those illusions any longer. So we're all going to, through our courage and our grace, learn to be, all of us, clear and open channels of a loving higher power to create a new world.
Yeah.
That's there's no doubt in my mind that that's happening at this point.
So as an example, I don't think we need to go into it in any great length, but as an example of this in action.
Too late.
Of this in action.
Yes.
An example. Would you say that would be the Hollywood scandals of people finally whistleblowing, opening their mouths, taking risks to step forward, even courageously, again, vulnerably, the same, you know, methods required of both, is to step forward without knowing the outcome, without knowing how the world will perceive them or what will happen, courage and vulnerability. Would you say that's an example of the energy shift, the mood shift of the planet, that people are saying, again, no more?
Yes.
I'm a person that's being affected by the bully, basically. Yeah, me too. That's what I think too.
That all of life is, right. Of course. Well, go ahead. Say what you want to say about that. Let's hear from you.
Well, that was kind of it. But I guess, again, as a human, having been through, of course, my own stories and been slow to get the message that you cannot think you can cheat life by just being a good girl or by just ticking boxes or by just studying more or keeping busy, or, you know, the lessons got louder and louder for me in terms of small little, hello, something's not going right, why don't you have a listen? Till the fact I got so sick, I was literally on the floor. And I think, again, that happens for so many of us. However, you know,
sure,
you know, I was raised in a therapeutic sort of training center, essentially. My parents used to train therapists. So I've been around pain, and trauma and humanity and reality in my face since before I could talk.
Sure.
So obviously we've all been in this same setup scenario where, unfortunately, and it enrages me that our culture doesn't train us in schools self-love, self-compassion, self-worth, intuition. You must listen to your guide inside. Otherwise, you're going to live a life of ego, of more, of of I am what you think I am, and we're going to be what we are, the sickest, most addicted, most desperate culture of all time. And people not understanding, and I'm sure there's people on this today, and please do share the video if it resonates, who, you know, from a psychological perspective, how I kind of teach from it, although obviously I'm very much connected with no idea what's going on, but this is right. The people who in their lives are sick in whatever way, whether it's physiologically or emotionally or spiritually or relationally or just something's going wrong. For me, it's just such good news.
Right.
But we don't know this because we don't talk about it, which is if you feel disconnected, if you feel bored, if you feel enraged, if you feel an unbelonging or an unworth, that's good news, because it means that one of your human needs or more aren't being met, that something inside is saying something's really wrong here, but we pathologize it and make it mad and bad, as opposed to, wow, this is an indicator that I'm not connected with this powerful thing that is being forced upon me, i.e., I need more. I need to connect. I need that vulnerability. I need to watch this live. I need to understand that this is a human response to a mad society that says, be a Dalek and make sure you don't speak with any sense of humanity. Just tick the box and get the money in.
Right,
and we're dying
Well, let
from
me...
it.
Sure. Well, that's right. And I'm reading all the great shares here from Vinisha and Sasha and everyone. And what I really feel the need to say now, of course, is that again, you know, love, principally through compassion and forgiveness, is the healing energy, the divine feminine, the goddess energy, the divine mother energy, the unconditional love energy of the divine mother in all of us is the energy that pulls us back into our center. And, you know, everyone who has been, God bless us, my friends, abused and mistreated and whatnot, you know, it's terrible, it's awful, it's not what we consciously want. But on the level of our soul, somewhere we signed up for it because we said we're going to need to know that experience in order to become who we really are. And so you see, really the cutting edge of what we're talking about here today, it's great, is we're all leaders. Everyone who is open to these ideas is at the very leading edge of thought, as Abraham says. And, you know, it's time, 2018, it's double one, it's an 11, it's a master number. It's time
What does that
to
mean?
really...
I'm hearing that everywhere.
Well, it means to come into our mastery. It means to stop fooling around and stop playing weak and stop playing small, and really shine our light and share our love, as my guides say. So if you're a singer, sing. If you're a poet, write. If you're a dancer, dance. We came here to open the human heart and to awaken the divine feminine in every man, woman, and child on this planet. And that is what we signed up for. And the torture and the pain are just the price of admission. But we have a front row seat and we can get on the stage and we can be the source of inspiration for people to wake up. We do not have to be defined any longer by the pain and fear of the past.
And we've done our bit, for F's sake. We've done our bit. We all have the receipt that says, I've suffered, I've done the bit. But it's like we're sort of greedy with our receipts.
Right.
No, I need another one that says I've suffered enough. Oh, no, I must need to suffer more to prove to the cosmos, to the universe, to myself, to somebody that now I'm worthy of something good.
Yeah, you see, you are your own teacher, as you and I know. And in your wisdom and love and compassion for and about yourself, me too, you know, my ugly bits and my scared bits and my hurt bits and my lonely bits and all of that. When I crawl up to the altar and I say, okay, God, I've forgotten who I am. Please help me to remember. And I give away all my bloated nothingness and I come back to feeling humble and worthy and sacred and deserving, then I have something to offer other people who are lost in the madness. But we can take our power back anytime we're willing to trust ourselves, is really what it comes down to.
So tell me this. let me get this out a minute. Do we have to find God to do this? To be one of the people who is inspired, more conscious, more able, more empowered? Because I think that's important for people to know, because a lot of, for example, I said to you recently, that best-selling book called the Bible, which one should I read? I'm only 40, maybe I should read the book that's been read the most of any other book. And you gave me a response that actually I knew, but I didn't know. And so this is my question, is I think a lot of people still are living to varying degrees with screw God, he's too late, or she, to what is that? And
right.
kind of open that to, I'm there. Would you say that for us to be part of this collective of conscious people who are realizing that the pain is okay, the madness is okay, the disconnect is okay, that's actually evidence that we're coming into ourselves and to the dancer and to the free spirit? Would you say we all have to be then understanding and believing in God?
Well, Liz is saying it very well. You find God through your highest self. You find God through the best version of you. That's beautifully, it's a great question. And yeah, don't use the word God, use the word source, use the word spirit. Throw out the bloody Bible as far as I'm concerned. Truly, sure, because there's wisdom in there. Take the wisdom and let go of all the judgment and fear of thinking for ourselves, and women being below men. All of that is obviously such rank bullshit. It just makes my blood boil, and see the sacred in yourself and in life and in the ocean and in your lover and in your favorite music and in the food on your plate, etc. Taking our power back. I mean, it's a great question. Taking our power back is redefining what power is. And it's taking, letting go of the patriarchy, the hierarchy of feeling less than and inferior and always, on your back foot. And it is saying, this is what I believe. This is what I'm committed to. This is what I care about, etc. Finding our voice.
So, yay. Yay.
Okay, good.
So in terms of places, sorry, Lou.
Go ahead, sweetie.
Well, in terms of places to begin, because I'm guessing a lot of people will identify with this. So they can be part of our tribes, you and I, what we post.
Sure.
And, your lives, Monday to Friday, where you're doing morning prayers, 9 o'clock in the morning, UK time.
Yes, I'm going to start again tomorrow.
Brilliant. And me with all mine and my course and the courses and coaching and all this kind of wonderful stuff. But
yes,
the tribe to me is the most important thing. I, like you, I do one-to-one sessions with people. But for me, what is desperately important as well is to look at how we function in a dynamic, how we function in communication with other people. That is so profoundly important that we learn that, because again, in our culture, in my view, we don't learn how to feel safe in tribes. We just don't. Everything's a effing threat about what other people can want and don't want and all that stuff. Where would you say people can begin, apart from joining us for lives and, eating whatever we want to offer in their own way if they want to? Where do you begin with this? If you're in your life, this is kind of neat.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, to me, honestly, the Lazarus gives a name to the energy of each year. Like we were talking about 2018 being a year of mastery. Lazarus says it's the year of acceptance. And for their teaching with all of us that study with Lazarus, which is open to anyone, they call us the map makers. And a lot of what they've been working on with us over the last year has been about the ancients, the ancestors, and the grandmothers and grandfathers of your particular spiritual lineage, however you work with that and discover that. So what I want to say, Poppy, is that it's, here's the way my guides put it, right? They say every day you have one of three choices. You're either invited, challenged, or required to know your spiritual nature. If life is good and everything's good, it's an invitation and you've answered the invitation. If you've got some resistance or some problems or some fears, challenges are going to come into your life, and you're going to have to meet those challenges. If you're in crisis, which is where the planet is at right now, if you're in crisis, then you must find your spiritual nature to heal the crisis. Like, I counsel people that are terminal and, dealing with life-threatening situations and suicidal and things like this. And of course, like we're saying here, my dear, it always comes down to what we believe, how deeply we believe it, and if we will allow it to be our truth in the present moment. And what you said about group consciousness and the tribe and what my guides call enlightened group consciousness and these kinds of energies, each of us have to individually take responsibility for our own personal relationship to love and fear, and find a path of commitment that empowers us and inspires us to feel that we are creating a meaningful life for ourselves, and we're helping others to create a meaningful life for themselves as well. So that's my long answer to your short question. Neil Walsh helps me to do that. All the teachers I've mentioned help me to do that. You and your talks help me to do that. Whoever empowers and inspires you, that is your food and drink and your life force. And it's like turning away from the nonsense, the craziness, the numbness, and finding a greater willingness and a greater interest in the things that are awakening and uplifting and empowering. And if we'll do that, inspiration is the voice of spirit, say my guides. If we'll do that, we'll hear spirit's voice in our heart and in our mind and in our actions, and we'll know what we need to do every day to be taking care of ourselves and our planet.
And so what's in my mind is, where I'm 100% with you, is where people go, oh my God, but where do I begin? And for me, you've just answered it. And I call it, because of course it's the coach in me, proximity list, is getting yourself in proximity closely with people who inspire you or talk to you in some kind of a way about, oh, well, they take risks to be, themselves. I'm going to watch them on, whatever, YouTube or
sure.
Lou or Poppy or, get yourself 10 people minimally who are living the life that you would be proud to live, and learn from them. Because
right.
so many
Good.
people, I mean, this is what a number of people are saying on here, is part of the consciousness is the internet, that we can have this kind of conversation and go, hello, there are bullies, don't stand for it, we're together, don't be silent, don't let life pull you off and bully you in the corner on your own. We're all here.
Right.
But for me, one of the things that, can happen is we're in our group where a lot of us, are sort of wondering what's going on, something's bigger than this. And then there are people to varying degrees who know that, but want to speak up, but don't know how. For me, it is about being open to finding those people outside of your group, your real life group, and growing your real life group to be influenced by people who are answering the kind of questions you want answers to. And quite like, I think it happens, mini miracles spontaneously and through algorithms on Facebook and YouTube and all that, which is like me the other day I'm watching Oprah and up pops, Neil.
Right.
Donald Walsh.
Yeah.
And instinctively I go, wow, yay, whatever he's doing, I want to hear.
Right.
And to me, this is where we can begin if we're stuck, in a little kitchen on our own going, oh my God, do I drink or shoot myself or shoot someone? What do I do? Is we've all got access to the internet to get on and say, okay, who might be talking about what I want to hear, and Google it.
Yes, that's right. I mean, for me and my guides, that was beautiful. I quite agree with that. They say 4 things every day: pray, meditate, journal, and find and follow your inspiration, as you've just said. Find those people that make you glad to be alive, that you want to be walking in their footsteps, that are doing the kinds of things that you in your soul want to do. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we're living again in this cosmic moment when we can really rediscover what that means for each one of us. No one's going to tell us. We get to create it. We get to find it out for ourselves. There's great freedom in all of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. And I guess I'd add to it, because I know it works for a lot of people, is a beginning sort of habit or ritual or discipline in the morning can be when we wake up. And really, like Tony Robbins says, if you don't have 10 minutes for yourself in the morning, you don't have a fucking life. And equally, and this is my adage, we're contaminating the planet with negativity when we don't take that 10 minutes, which is to look at what am I grateful for in the right now, but also who do I want to be today? What are my values? What are my passions? Who do I, if I'm going to fairly represent myself today, what is that? And also the important bit with it is, well, what does that look like? Because a lot of us can think about what we want or what we don't want, but what is required of me? What kind of person do I need to be? What kind of behaviors do I need to have in order to be that person?
Right.
And who on my proximity list is doing it if I get stuck? Like, I can use them as a role model. Would they do that?
Sure. That's right. That's right. That's all absolutely essential. And the only thing I want to add to that, which I keep interrupting you here, sorry, is to give yourself time and space to come into peace. If we're wounded, if we're fearful, if we're anxious, we cannot be inspired. We can't be desperate and inspired at the same moment. I can't be angry and grateful at the same moment. So it's about being really, deliberate, conscious co-creators, as Abraham says, deliberate intenders. So I love what you said. Yes. Every night as I go to sleep, I check off all the things I'm grateful for, all the wonderful surprises, the bits of grace, etc., the answered prayers. What I did right. Yeah. What I'm happy and grateful to myself for. Exactly. Well said. And then, in the mornings when starting the day, to really not only do it mentally, but to do it energetically. Like, really, that's what I do. I really go deep in myself, in my heart every morning. And I really strive through prayer and meditation to connect with God, source, spirit, before I put my feet on the floor, to have that feeling like I am loved.
Yeah.
I am valuable. I am safe, loved, and supported. I am inspired. This kind of energy. I mean, I see you doing it as well. That's why people are so inspired by your energy and your consciousness. You get lit up, sweetie. It's wonderful. So, more power to you. It's beautiful.
Thank you, Lou. Likewise, we're a reflection of each other.
Thank you.
What I would add.
Thank you, dear.
It's true. What I would add to it is, there are a lot of people. What?
Yeah. Yes.
You're just taking in my compliment, I see.
Yes, exactly. I'm agreeing with you. Yes, loving you back.
Yeah, good. What I would add to it is there's a lot of people who the getting busy and the not being in peace and in quiet and in silence get busy, and they have to get busy because it has an incredibly important function which keeps the truth out of awareness, which may be experiences, it may be a lack of self-worth, it may be fear, usually is, what if I try, I'll fail, or what if somebody sees that I'm a fake because I am actually faking this and this is not maintainable. So for a lot of people, there is this, well, I'd love to be like you, Lou, but, if I stop, then I'm really anxious, or I fear I'm going to cry and flood the world, or I'm, where's the alcohol? A lot of people employ these brilliant ways of keeping themselves busy because being in that peaceful place is very frightening. And often people aren't aware of that. So for me, you just answered the question that can solve it, which is we cannot be anxious or we cannot be angry and grateful at the same time. So, this is someone coming from, I had a desperately anxious depression. I wouldn't wish that on a soul. If I knew, if a effing psychiatrist knew to tell me this, which was, where are you right now in this moment? If you stop being in this fear-based place that you're going to lose everything, which ironically I did twice, trying to force it, manipulate myself and the world and everybody in it. Oh, I don't want to lose everything. And I did. If I'd have been taught at school or, by doctors or by my group at the time, where are you in the right now? If you don't jump back and forth from history to projection of the future of terrible things are going to happen, but you're in the right now, what are you appreciative of right now? I probably would have cussed at them, but if I was helped through the culture of what was going on around me, and now if people are watching this and hearing this between us, to be in the now, to just be present to what was happening in the now. You cannot be anxious or angry when you're appreciative of right now, this minute. I have shoes, I have internet to watch Bobby and Lou, etc., etc. And that's profound, because we all have this potential in a big way to have an incredible life, to go, you know what, I can't pay the bill, but I can sing, and it does do my heart good. Like this lady, Susan Day, wherever you are, I got her on live the other day, and she's got this incredible story, incredible history. And she's writing a book which comes out on the 1st of February about poetry, about unleashing health from sexual abuse. You know, this incredible lady.
Right.
So we all have it.
Right.
But what's important is what you've said about gratitude and grace with gratitude. What do I have right now, even though, you know, there are things going on that are really difficult? What do I have right now? That's a long way of saying.
Yeah. Well, no, that's good. No, that's great. That's great. See, no, that's gorgeous. That's wonderful. You know, I mean, you've got a very strong spirit, sweetheart. You know, really you do, because you've overcome huge challenges. And the gift of that is you give that example to everyone that you work with and who knows you, and you say, look, if I've done this, you can do this. And I feel the same, you know, that there have been so many times in my life when I didn't know what the answer was, or if there even was an answer, and felt so hopeless and helpless and lost and all the rest of that good fun. But when you see over and over again that your prayers do get answered and that things do work out, and there is grace and there is help and there is wisdom and inspiration, then you go, well, you know, I'm just creating a big problem where there doesn't need to be one. So, you know, Eckhart Tolle talks about this in The New Earth, you know, and Byron Katie as well, two wonderful teachers out there, many people probably know also, which is, you know, we're at the very end of this illusion of separation called the human ego, and we need to have a sense of identity. You touched on this earlier, of self-love and self-worth and self-respect and self-esteem and you know, all the qualities of a self-realization, all the qualities of loving ourselves. But again, we have to slow ourselves down and feel our feelings and face our fears and heal our judgments of self, of others. See, people are abused and bullied, etc., because they're not clear, you know, in themselves about their worth. And so as awful as the injury is, and it's awful, it's saying, is this your truth? Do you want to believe this forever? Or is your truth something that you can move beyond? And, you know, my guides say there's like these 4 steps of emotional healing, right? First, we confront our denial. Then we express the emotions that have been denied. Then we can have the power to forgive ourselves and others. Then we come to a place of gratitude where we go, that served me. Now I've taken my power back. Now I know who I am. Yeah. Yeah. But it's a journey every day.
So powerful in times of when we get it wrong or F it up or we're in shame attack or any of that, is the conscious bit that is beginning, you know,
it's okay.
I don't know.
It's okay.
Well, but equally, it's better news than that, I think. So, for example, now, this is going to be, and is, the time where people's, you know, resolutions for the new year epically plummet into the pavement. For me, the time that we can use with that, the beginning of what you're saying, is the consciousness of, well, I had a cigarette. I'm not going to pretend or make an excuse. I did. So sue me. I'm human. Now what? Whereas a lot of people will, you know, anything, something happens, we do something, and we work so hard to suppress it that they won't care that I said that, or, you know, it's fine that I did that, or I'm not talking about that, or, and this denial, avoidance, very regressed, you know, in my work, regressive defenses of this childlike state that says it's not important, it's not important, it's not important. So powerful sometimes to say, yeah, this is the reality. Okay, now what?
Yeah,
And
yeah. No, it's
qualities
brave
you're
that you
saying.
share that. Yeah, well, of course, my guides say love is the only perfection we're ever going to need to understand. Everything else is this illusion of seeking after proving something that we're doubting or we're not sure of, or it's not the point. And so everyone really does the best that they know how to do in every given
Yeah.
situation. This, I'm sure I got that from conversations with God, but I believe I knew that beforehand, to come back to Neil. And so it's like, if we can be that compassionate space for ourselves and for our clients and friends and loved ones, where we're accepting and allowing and welcoming of whatever the emotional truth is in the moment, then we'll move quickly through the denied emotions. We'll get to a place of acceptance, forgiveness, and then we'll go, thank you. I feel more supported. I feel more accepted. I feel more understood. I feel more cared about. All of those important things.
Definitely. Hooray! Hooray us!
Yay.
Fantastic.
Yes, yes.
Shall we ask?
Thank you.
Shall we
Thank
ask
you.
people for questions? Are you up for some questions if people want to put some?
Yes, carry on. Yes.
Anybody want to
Sure.
ask? Anybody want to ask us something? Ask Lou something, or me something, or both of us? If you do, we'd be delighted.
Put us to the test.
Put us in, exactly. Put a Q in the box and a question if you'd like to challenge something or share something or get some help with something. Use us. And know, those of us that are tribe members, we're all friends here. Whatever you ask, we'll say, somebody, if not a lot of people, are going to identify.
Right, right. Sasha's talking about abuse, and boundaries, and it's a really deep subject, Sasha. Thank you for bringing that up. Boundaries, my guides say boundaries are balance. And when we have a spiritual sense of ourself, of giving to ourself and loving ourself and caring about ourself, our own safety, these kinds of energies, then we give ourselves back to God, and God will honestly remove the drama, the conflict, the struggle, the fear from our lives. But it does take great courage and great vulnerability to shift that focus and to ask for that love and support and that healing. Because it's easy, the world is a really intense place.
Yeah.
When we're in fear, especially. And I promise, for better or worse, everyone, there is going to be some fear moving through this planet. There's no doubt about it. So, last year was a shot across the bow. So the more that we can feel safe, loved, and supported, and give our fears to our loving higher power, and forgive ourselves for any situation that was less than what we wanted, God will completely, God, Goddess, all that is, transform that into the opportunity to help other people to learn how to do the same.
Big time. And Sasha, or anybody, if you fancy jumping on a session with Lou, I've had many sessions with Lou, and he's profound. And those of you that know me know I'm a princess when it comes to people to entrust your psyche with. It's incredibly important to pick wisely. And of course, many of you on here I know have had sessions with Lou, but Sasha or someone, if you're interested, Sasha, I know you'd love Lou if you wanted to reach out to him. Myra's got a question.
Yeah, we actually did chat.
Oh, you did? Oh, hooray. Okay,
yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Myra, what is your advice on vulnerability? I'm going to write a book and I want to be vulnerable enough to share my journey. Do it, my darling. I'm doing the same thing. Do it. It's invaluable for people. What would you say to Myra about her book?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is the divine feminine. What is more vulnerable than a woman, giving birth, making love, taking care of her family, all the things that women do that we just so often, sadly, take for granted. Yes, giving in so many ways. womankind is the strength of vulnerability, and she has to be the great balancer, the gateway of life and death. She is the caregiver to the family of humanity, bringing life in and looking after it, and taking care of it every step of the way,
For sure.
and taking care of herself at the same time. It's a huge sacred journey to be a woman, and that is the beauty and the strength of vulnerability. It's not vulnerability, in the patriarchy, in our crazy mindset. It's like weakness and an invitation to attack and to be exploited and all of that. But that's why, again, the Me Too movement and women coming into their power, and watching the interviews with Meryl Streep talk about Katharine Graham in the Washington Post, this great new film from Spielberg and Tom Hanks and all these people. All of this is just building. So this is the time for women and the divine feminine to have a voice in the world. We need that wisdom. We need the depth of those feelings to touch our hearts.
And men. Any men out there really looking to find out what's going on, that there's a part of you passive? Oh my God, give me a ring. I was saying to, who was this? Somebody yesterday, I think it was, there's a teeny bit of me that has this horrific fantasy that we're going to kill you people off. There's so many men, for me, I hear you say it and I love it. This is the time of, the divine feminine, and for us stepping up and using our voices and giving birth to books and giving birth to conversation and so on. But there are, we're a tribe. There are men here.
Right.
So
well,
because I'm desperate to help us all speak to men who can speak to themselves, to say, well, I have a voice. I've been suppressed. I've been bullied. I've been, whatever. What about my voice? And I'm keen that it's not just about women.
Right. Well, as you've heard me say, the blockage for women tends to be in the throat, about the voice, around anger. And is it safe for me to disagree, to be a bitch, to complain, to be angry, to be enraged, to be furious, to stop, men from bullying me and intimidating me and harassing me and all of that? Yes. That's part one. And for men, it's about grief, denying the depth of our feelings and the depth of our love and our care, and that we've thrown the divine feminine out of our hearts, men in general. And, there's going to need to be a lot of humbling of mankind. I'm sorry to say this, but I just don't see any other way forward, of illusions of power, and Donald Trump and many other, Harvey Weinstein, many other people out there who've been living a profound lie and in tremendous ignorance and arrogance. They're going to have to come crashing back to planet Earth here at some point. And all the men that believe that you can get away with controlling and lying to the world, that all has to be undone.
Yeah, and good. Because ultimately, not only is it going to help people come together to speak the truth, but those people are in desperate amounts of pain, massively.
Right. So the healing, again, of all of those things is self-forgiveness. We all will make mistakes. We will all do things we regret or think differently of or want to forgive or be forgiven about. But if we don't forgive ourselves and each other, then we stay stuck in this. There's this great black comedian, Dave Chappelle. He's on Netflix. I've just discovered him recently. He's very, very funny. I think he's really brilliant. And he was saying in a radio talk show interview that we're going to need to have a truth and reconciliation conversation in this country. And he was the first person other than myself who I heard say that, which is what they did in South Africa.
Yeah.
Where they Mandela and the blacks came to power after he was released from prison, and rather than a bloodbath, they had tribal councils where people apologized to each other and they took responsibility for their emotion. They made amends, and they made they took responsibility for their impact on each other.
Yes.
We have to do that. We have to have that. We have to have that in our culture in order for us to heal.
Yes. And on
we need to apologize to the Indians and the blacks of America, as well as the women, where they have been exploited and bullied and misused. Yes.
To each other. Because
yes.
For me, and I often say this, is to me, those are the specific symptoms of the bigger thing, which is we are liars. We've been corrupt. We've been silent. We've been cowardly. And as a result, people have got raped and tortured. And,
right.
Those are the specific symptoms of the practical acting out of this terrible stuff. But actually, as a collective, men and women, we've been cowardly and lied, and we've watched the bullies, and we've become the bullies silently, or we've colluded by our silence. Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just saying, my friend, we need to level. It's all right. You're passionate. I love your yang, Poppy. You're the warrior. Yeah, you got your sword going. It's great. But we also need to have compassion for the abusers.
Oh, absolutely. Does it sound, when I say this stuff, does it sound I don't?
I don't know, but I'm just adding that to the conversation. That's why I'm talking about South Africa. In order for the healing to, like, when my God, when the cavalry, the U.S. Army went to Standing Rock, and they bowed in forgiveness to the Indian elders there. It was one of the most powerful moments of my life.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is historic, and this is the future of this planet, where the abusers ask for the forgiveness of those that they've abused.
Yeah. And I think you're picking up on all kinds of mixed feelings in me, which is, of course, true of all of us. We have mixed feelings.
Sure.
For me, I think, honestly, and I'm going to have to call myself on my shit here, the kind of rah in me about the cowardice is my own history, because we all do it to a certain degree, but that's to do with people in my literal history watching things go down and not saying something, which is a disgrace. However, but wait a minute, there's the other balance, and clearly I'm still healing, which is why occasionally I'm like, ooh, have you got a session for me? What's
sure,
with
honey.
That equally, I know the psychology of it, which is why I do this for a living, which is we're not only are we educated and blackmailed and silenced and sort of anesthetized by culture, but also for many of us, it's imperative that we keep quiet and we keep stuck and we keep that song inside and die with it and so on. Because otherwise it means facing the fact that all the stuff that we've learned through childhood to get on and to contort ourselves so we get fed and watered and, sheltered, we have to realize that got us by, but it doesn't now work. That's the stuff that has us backfire. When you ask me how I am and fine and don't talk about the abuse, that can send people into enormous pain. So I absolutely get the compassion for the cowards, and I've been one, but there's also a side of me that says,
me too.
How are we doing this,
Right. Yes, that's fine. That's good. That's fair. I've been a coward too. Everyone on the planet has been a coward at some point in their life. That's what being human is. It's being intimidated through fear, in some situation or another. But again, we come to this world to awaken to our true spiritual nature. This is what all the teachers have said. And so, So we have fears, but we are not our fears.
Yes. Exactly.
We have fears, but we are not our fears. We are temporarily forgetting, false evidence appearing real. We are temporarily forgetting the truth of who we are. And when we can not only be courageous and honest, which is essential, but also compassionate and forgiving, then we can, as someone said here a minute ago, Lily Tomlin, forgiveness is letting go of the past. That's right. Until we forgive ourselves for what we've done that we're not proud of, we stay haunted by it, and we'll project it into the future and we'll repeat it. And it tends to get larger until we confront it and release it. But when we say, I'm human, I've made mistakes, and I forgive myself, and I ask God to help me to know that I am forgiven, and I will do whatever I'm guided to do to make amends about this, that's what life is about. There's nothing that can stop that from
Yeah.
happening, you see?
Yeah.
Then you get your
Yeah.
freedom back. You don't have to pretend to be
Oh,
yourself. You
yeah.
can just be yourself.
Yes. And we all need help for that, and mentors to
Right?
look to for that. And Liz is asking about it. Lou, any advice on where I
Yeah.
can start connecting with my spirit guides?
Yeah. Yeah. So meditate, pray, keep a journal, and find and follow your inspiration every day. Make your inner journey. You see, like we're talking about, the end of the day, the beginning of the day, and 3 breaths as you can at different times during the day. Keep coming back to center, and keep being aware of when you're out of center and when you're back in center. And my guides say it's very simple. Go into peace as often and as deeply as you can. That is your grounding. That is your power. Your power comes through peace of mind. When we give up our peace of mind, addiction, obsession, compulsion, fear, judgment, guilt, shame, blame, all of that, we're in the negative ego, and we're lost in the illusion. So you keep coming back to peace. And how I know we've come back to peace is how I know that I've forgiven something is I've come back to peace about it. I can think about this person or this situation and feel peaceful about it. That's when I know I've done the forgiveness work.
And, and calm with the peace. You feel.
Yeah.
What is that?
Peace of mind. Peace of mind. Yeah, that you're in the present moment, and you're authentic, and you're true to yourself, and you will speak your truth, and you'll act in integrity. Safe. And you'll get in and out all day long. That's where we're at right now, and for the next several years, we're going to keep bouncing, off these the walls of these energies.
Yeah. Tina is saying, what exactly is the dimensional thing that you talk about? That's one for you, I know. What exactly is the dimensional thing?
What is... Well, it's just, it's like talking about the astrology or the Mayan calendar. They're a bit abstract. I respect that, but it's like me trying to find the language to describe how real and how important it is to understand the energies of things. So, I mean, I feel like, we are moving through the 3rd, through the 4th, into the 5th dimension. Enough guides have said that, over the last 30 years that I believe that. So, but again, it's the simple truth that the women are so great at helping us men to understand, which is just be in your heart, just be in the present moment, just be honest, just be true. Then your 5th dimensional self is good to go. If you're playing games or pretending things that aren't true, you're still doing the 3rd dimensional dance.
Yeah, ego. I am invested in what everybody else wants or thinks or whatever.
Well, I'm pretending to be something that I know in my heart is not true.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the prison that everyone lives in and out of.
Yeah, and it's a tough ass sentence as well. This is not small little things. This is the stuff
that we, but you see, sweetie,
don't often give ourselves credit for.
But honey, this is why I'm really telling you that forgiveness is the only way to move forward on the path of the heart. If we are still being hard on ourselves and harsh with ourselves, then we're still, fighting this fight from childhood, and we're still going to need bad guys in order to feel like the good guy. Whereas the more that I practice opening my heart to myself and to God as I understand God, the simpler it gets and the easier it gets.
I think sometimes my passion comes across, because it's so loaded in a good way, comes across as anger, which is not intended. So when I'm like, what I meant was, we don't, in my view, give ourselves enough credit for the devastating stuff that we've survived. So when I'm saying, I've got a receipt for that, I don't mean to, and I don't fit, unless I'm avoiding something, I don't think I am, that we've done our bit. And what I'm saying is we don't give ourselves respect and compassion for the suffering we've been through, and not a blame and not a victim stance or any of that. A very much forgiving is to say, hang on a minute, people, do you appreciate what you've survived? And that survival streak that's profound, that can catapult you in any direction with your dance or your poetry or your speaking or your teaching or your wisdom. So I don't mean to come across as unforgiving, and I don't think it's driven by unforgiving. I think it's driven by the sort of the passion to say to anybody, people now in literally psychiatric hospitals being, electrocuted, which still, yes, does go on. Any of us, the stuff we've been through, many of us, I don't think, stop for a moment with self-respect to say, wow, I'm bloody incredible to have survived that and come through that. And it doesn't have to be a great trauma. It can be insidious kind of small amounts of, was I loved actually? And what is love? It doesn't have to be this huge stuff, but I don't think we appreciate how incredible we are. That's what it was meant. I wasn't meant to go, everyone else okay. That wasn't what I was doing.
No, well, maybe I was misperceiving you, but to me, I hear you loud and clear. To me, the word is compassion. That we have compassion for our pain and fear allows us to have compassion for others' pain and fear, and that allows us empathy, to put ourselves in others' shoes and imagine what they're experiencing.
Yes. Caroline, are you still good to go? Are you still? It seems like people. Want to be here. Yeah.
Rock on. Having a great time.
Me too. Caroline's saying, I know you're both living in love, but what is it? But what is your mortal pet hates or trigger? I suppose I'm asking. You can go first. Oh, your mortal pet hates.
Well, I'm talking about forgiveness and compassion because I can be very hard on myself, and I've been very hard on myself, and or I felt like I've let people down, or I felt disappointed, in dreams not manifesting in the timing and the way that I thought they would, etc. But what I'm learning from all of that these days, as the energies get higher and higher, is that I don't stay stuck there as long. I'm gonna touch on it, but not stay stuck in the pain and the fear of it, and just go, okay, that's my stuff around being human and needing to pretend to be something that I'm still in the process of learning how to become. So let me actually, be honest and sincere with myself and kind to myself, so that I can become an inspiration to others rather than, be disappointed that I haven't become it already. Fine.
Yeah. And for me, I caught myself the other day. It's all the same stuff, I think. It was a wow moment. I caught myself. I was on the phone to AT&T, who are the most unflexible I've come across in a very long time. And for $2, there was this great big fight about basically cutting me off for $2. And I got, I was talking to the woman. I said, my darling, this is not personal, but this is so. Hello, we're talking about $2. There are people at war. Let's work together here. And there was at one point, in fact, I thought of you. This is interesting. I was walking across the car park, and I thought that a woman had walked past as I was talking, and I was very conscious that it was not personal between me and the woman on the phone. This was her job, and she was clearly reading from a script, and I was ready to blow. My father was very live in me, like, rah!
Yes, dear.
Saying,
yes.
Where's the humanity in this stupid ass stuff? And I was walking across the car park, having put the phone down, and I thought, if this woman who walked past, who would have heard me talking, didn't know me, she would probably think what a superficial, egotistical little brat she is talking about me. Because it was one of those trigger points where I thought, what's going on that we're invested in a conversation that's so, it's a waste of our time. I said to this lady, my darling, we're wasting precious moments of our life having a conversation about bullshit. And it really got me. So to answer the question, I guess it was, for me, it was a moment of, I was totally an ego, but my sort of passion was the same issue, which is we're losing each other's humanness in your little script that says X, Y, and Z has to happen, or AT&T cannot be blah, blah. So it's the kind of thing, it's the narrow-mindedness of us as a culture that forgets the person.
Yeah.
And that's what sometimes I lose it a bit. But I had a word. My
Sure.
community of self stepped in and said, let's have a little bit of a discussion here, Poppy, because you're losing, you're crazy.
Sure. And it worked out.
It did. And the women and I end up having a laugh in the end.
Yes.
There was that moment where I was just like, oh my God.
Well, but well done. You see, that I feel the same. I had the same thing happen here. My internet was turned off for €15, and it's like, okay, interesting, So I went from
trying to save
panic
the world
and yeah, exactly. I went through all that dance, of what's wrong with me and why can't I this and why doesn't that and why won't they the other, to like, love, forgive, breathe, send love, send light, send compassion, send healing. I'm an infinite being. The universe is abundance. I'm safe, loved, and supported. I put the needle on the song I want to be listening to, and I come back to sanity, and I let it go. And then things, once again, work out, and, everything's covered again. Thank you, God.
Yeah, and that's the surrender point. Because I was in the middle of this conversation when you're resisting, you're controlling, you're meh, meh, meh. And the minute I gave it up to then, whatever, then suddenly the pathway's open, right?
Yeah.
The communication opens, the phone suddenly works. And it's like, how many examples, Poppy, do you need in order to let this stuff go?
It's okay.
Know that what will come, It's
okay. No one's keeping score. No one's keeping score, my friend, you see. This is the daylight I'm trying to share with you here today, which is great, That's, I mean, honestly, when you have a position like you and I are blessed to have, where people can look to us from time to time for help and healing and inspiration and guidance, it doesn't mean we're not going to make mistakes. It means hopefully we're learning from them more quickly, and we're willing to share them as we are here. And more power to everyone who's on this path,
Absolutely. Susan here is asking, I'd be interested in your view as well here, Lou. How does one stay positive when you're hiding once again? And what I would say immediately is
you cannot
have both. And Susan, we know a little bit about you, my darling, which is you've hidden your pain for a very long time and used, your love to help others. But we can't hide and be self-compassionate and loving and confident and courageous and vulnerable at the same time. So you're not going to stay positive in a hiding place, which is reactive. It's there to support you, to keep you safe, right? But actually in adulthood, my darling, it doesn't work. It keeps you starving of love and connection from other people. We can't do that on our own.
Right. Well said. Beautifully said. Yeah. You can't protect the thing that you're afraid of and heal from it at the same time.
You can't protect the thing you're afraid of and heal from it at the same time. Exactly. Yeah. Anna says, how does one keep on track when challenged financially? No idea. Never been there. Not something that's ever affected me. What about you, Lou?
Right. Yeah, no, never a problem. Are you kidding?
Yes, I am.
Well, this is the edge of my practice right here. You found it. And what I keep working with is that like Lazara said, last year was the year of valuation. And looking at and starting to work with Paul Selig, Selig, and his great channelings. He's a wonderful new channel. And he has a book from his guides called The Book of Knowing and Worth. And basically, it is that whatever, I mean, and you're a great inspiration to me about this, Poppy. I want to just say that out loud for everyone to know that, you're showing that you can set this amount of money for your work and share it in this way, and people will, support you in that way, and it's a great inspiration to me. So I think we're really being asked to value what we have to offer, and that's where the abundance is going to come from. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are a part of our reality as well. I'm excited about all of that, but at the end of the day, God source will bring to us that which we feel we are worth, is what it comes down to.
Yeah. And what I would add to it, because I do know, is lots of different approaches to it. One is, people can't take from us what we don't have to give. And my dad said this once. We owed a big tax bill when I was a kid. And I was panicking, like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And he said, love, the woman, the tax cannot take from us what I don't have to give them. And he was like, so whatever. So I thought, well, that's true. What's the worst that can happen? We go to prison. People are in prison. People are wonderful. I'm sure we'll have a great time. It'll be fine, So for me, one is being conscious of the resistance and the sense of control that we get caught in. I have to control the situation. I have to control the person. I have to control myself. When sometimes there is that surrender where I could lose precious moments of my time here that I can never get back by trying to predict what will or won't happen, one. But also, and this is consistently my opinion, which I don't think is about any special thing about me, but whenever I've looked at finances and thought, what is it I need? No, it wasn't. I went through a transition, not what I need. What is it I would like? What does that look like? What is the figure specifically? And what do I need to do to get myself into alignment where that would be a reality? Not how, oh my God, how.
Right.
But who do I have to be? It's not even a financial thing. It is, if that person existed in me, what does she do? How does she behave? How does she think? What time does she get up? What does she eat? How does she communicate? And it always comes. And it's like, each time money comes, it flows with this sense of, not because I need it and not because it's not going to come and not because, I have to ask, but what do I need to be in order to get that? And each time it's like this instinct, the sort of intuition in me or higher self or God or something comes in, angels, fairies, whatever, comes in and goes, do you see? Here is yet another example. Pick, if you do that, those ingredients, and then you do your bit, and then you surrender. Here I am. Every single time.
Yeah.
And I resist it every single time, and it comes every single time. And I'm convinced it's not because I'm some special demigod. It's because this is the law of the universe, period. A law of the universe.
That's right. That's right.
Do you agree?
That's right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's beautifully said. There's a little book called It Works. And, there are so many examples of all of this. I use Abraham's little 15 minutes tune up, financial abundance meditation video. I listen to it twice today, and it calms me. It puts me in that state. It shifts something inside of me, as you said, can't really describe it, but I know the feeling. And when I'm shifted, then suddenly things flow again. And I'm like, this is where I'm meant to be. This is where I'm meant to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diane.
It's just, yeah, go on. No, sorry. The last thing is, sorry, hon. The thing that you and I have just shared, which everyone, I'm sure knows here, but this is the practice, is we need to make time and space to allow that shift to become the dominant vibration. That's the key.
Yeah. And believe it's coming.
Yeah.
Trust that it's coming.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Know that is now the dominant vibration.
And this isn't a little clever technique either. Whoever asked that question, I know so many people, we ask this and we get stuck in ego of how is this going to come? Any single person that I know who has a healthy relationship with money does this. This is their methods. They may have slightly different ways of thinking about it, but the methods are, what do I want? How much? and who do I need to be, and what do I need to do in order to get it? Give it up, next, and it comes. And I don't know one person who's in a healthy position financially who doesn't do that, which also is about not how much do I need to meet the bills and so on, but what is it actually I do require to cover everything, and then their focus is on a figure that's about 10 grand more than that. So it isn't that we just meet, you know, this is what a lot of people do, and I certainly used to do is, well, when I've got no money, then that's the point at which my belief system said, well, now you get money. When you can't eat, then you get money. As opposed to, this is what I'm looking for, financially figure.
Sure.
And then to think a lot more over that, because what a lot of people do is they just make their rent or they just make the bill. And it's because that's our focus. If our focus is on, I need £300 to pay the rent, we'll often hit that. But if we say, I need 1,000, you're going to hit that, if that makes sense.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, it is done unto us as we believe. I have a very strong feeling. Yes. I mean, as I mentioned, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency just as one example, that the financial paradigm is absolutely going to shift for the better this year for all of us who are striving and seeking for opportunities to be of service to each other and to the planet.
Yes. And that's truly, truly sort of interwoven within that sort of tapestry that we've just put together is, how do I give more? Ultimately, I mean, that was so in my mind as I was talking, I just thought, it's so obvious, I don't even want to say it, but need to say it rather, is how do I give more? If I want more, how do I give more? If I want to be healthy and happy, where's someone who isn't, and I can help them? From a
sure
authentic place, as opposed to, then I've got a sense of worth if I do it. There's a fine balance between, if I want something, how do I help other people do that? If I need something,
that's right,
how do I step up and give that?
That's right, including doing it in prayer.
Yes, and in actuality,
you know, setting that intention. Yeah.
I've heard you say of your morning prayers, your 9 a.m., you know, Monday to Friday UK time prayers, I do this as much for me as you, and you share it, which is similar with me.
Right.
You know, I wanted someone to inspire me at 6:30 in the morning every morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I did it myself, and I get on, and that's what the happiness campaign daily disciplines are, because I want that for me. So
Great.
And
exactly. Yeah.
Diane,
yeah, that's right. That's right.
How do we know when we have truly forgiven? Diane says.
Right. So as I said, you know, for me, you come back to peace. You know, that's how you know. You can look at the person or the situation and feel peaceful about it. And, you know, there's these misunderstandings around forgiveness. Basically, you know, we think forgiveness is about forgiving the other person. And there's some truth to that. But really, it's not complete. And the point of forgiveness is to forgive ourselves for inviting, allowing, or creating a situation that was less than what we would really want to experience. And so, you know, we learn from our mistakes, we learn from our unconsciousness, and when we take responsibility for it through forgiving ourselves and others, we're taking our power back about it. We're saying, I am no longer going to be victimized by this situation or this individual.
Yeah. And what is it I'm doing, or what is it I'm resisting still in me? And what's the benefit to me in doing that? Because so many people, Susan, you and I had a conversation again about this the other day, it needs to start often with forgiveness of ourselves. We can forgive others, or the opposite. I forgive me, but I don't forgive you. And we're never going to do well with that as a reality.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can't really, you know, we think we're perfect, and then we're judging the other person who's imperfect, and that's the ego's game, you know, and we feel, you know, genuinely victimized and abused and neglected and mistreated and disrespected and all of those things that's how the ego keeps, as someone said, edging God out, or everything good is outside. But when you make this journey to the heart, this inner journey into that citadel of peace and love and acceptance and compassion and forgiveness for yourself, then you're able to turn to that situation or that individual and go, I release you. I let you go. You no longer have to play the role of my tormentor in this drama.
Exactly. And this is the thing, oh gosh, a lot of us know this in theory, is that really, our hatred or loathing or contempt or rage or anger or whatever, unforgiving towards someone else, often is justified within reason, but that's so painful for us to live with. It's damaging for us, again.
Well, that's right.
This the other day, this kills us slowly.
That's right.
In whatever way. I meet people all the time and I look at them and I think, you're decaying with your hatred of yourself, of other people. Because we can't hate others without hating ourselves, in my view. And it's a killer.
That's right.
It decays
That's
you
right.
inside out.
That's right.
And people like to think they're immune to this, that no, that's not the case. I've been doing this 40 years, 20 as a clinician in the field. And I see people decaying and dying all the time through rage and unforgiveness. And it's devastating because, again, we think we can cheat these laws, and we can't, period. We cannot.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's, I think the Buddha says, it's like drinking poison and expecting someone else to suffer for it.
Exactly. Right.
And it's not, it won't happen.
And not to condone what somebody may have done, but to give yourself peace from it, to give yourself release from it. The amount of energy, consciously and unconsciously and otherwise, taken up in being angry, whether it's in a dream or whether it's in a fantasy or whether or not it's in the way that you eat or whatever it is, it kills you. There's no way around it. Kills your spirit, kills your relationships, kills your body, kills your psyche, kills your emotional health. Oh my God.
Right.
Do you
fear,
know anybody?
Fear is a. Yeah, go on. Sorry. Well, it's a self-limiting belief system that disempowers us because it's this manifestation of our separation from God and from each other. And so the more frightened or fearful or judgmental we are, the less real true power we have. Yes.
And this is what was sparked by watching Neil Douglas Walsh.
Donald Walsh, dear.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
Neil Donald Walsh. And my own thoughts and my sort of little... I was in my database yesterday of clients and case studies and myself and so on, thinking that, and shared this with the training group yesterday when we were doing our live, that fear is all about loss. That if I'm resisting something, panicking about something, manipulating myself, trying to control you, trying to foresee what you're going to say and mind read and whatever, contort myself so that X, Y, and Z doesn't happen. And when we're in a place, often when we've lost everything, and I talk to people all the time, if I see a happy person, I'll say, what is it you feel makes you able to be happy like this? And people are often startled. They always want to answer. And it so often will be, I nearly died in X situation, or when I was a child, this happened and I nearly died, or and on and on and on. And, oh, wow. The point at which people realize, you know what, if it all goes wrong, I'm okay. I can have my own back. I don't need someone to pick me up. If someone's not there again, I can do it myself. And for me, that's the point at which people have the fear. They do it anyway, but they do it with an open heart that says, it will work out.
Right, but sweetheart, you're never really alone.
Yes, I get it. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you see, this is what we're being invited to understand. I mean, good for you and good for all of us to get through our own insanity and come back to love and peace. But the thing that we're really being asked to understand these days is we can ask for help, and the help will be given, and we deserve whatever help we're open to receive.
Yeah, if we believe it's there. What I mean is,
if we're willing to believe it's there.
Yeah. What I mean is, if mum's not there, or dad's not there, or teacher's not there, or policeman's not there, or whatever, that it's not about.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Just thought
I know. But yes, that's fine. I'm just wedging my message in the crack, as Abraham says. That we are never alone, and we are loved unconditionally, and this is what Spirit is inviting us to remember, so that we really can live heaven on earth. We really can have that happiness and joy and success and inspiration, and transcend all the illusions of separation that humanity has lived with for thousands of years, and remember that we really are a spiritual being having a human experience that we get to define every day by what we are willing to believe.
For sure. And I think this is not going to be
okay.
I shouldn't preempt this, but it's something again that Neil was saying, something like heaven on earth is living. Do you remember his quote? Realizing
about what now? Which?
So Neil, one of the quotes that, of course, kind of stayed in my head was heaven on earth. Something like this is living free within yourself and communicating from that place. It's not a great. That was the essence that stayed with me. Anyways, heaven on earth. Truly, it's connecting with someone from a place of faith in yourself, and then being supported outside of what other people think of me and X, Y, and Z. But that's heaven on earth. That really impacted me.
That's right.
That's right. Anyway.
Yeah. It's like my guides say, no one can take your power from you. You can only give it away. And no one can give you your freedom. You must take it because it's yours.
Exactly. It's our birthright, period.
That's it. So you see, you and I and everyone on this call, we're very, very blessed to have Neil and all these great resources coming into our life now saying, wake up, everyone. You've been dreaming this dream long enough. It's time to come home to yourself in this world.
Yeah, and there's so many of us here. I mean, it's not like suddenly you're on the top of a hill on your own with crossed legs. Look at the tribe; it's enormous.
Right, all right, and it's only going to grow. This year is going to be amazing year. Yeah.
Susan is saying, "How do I help others?"
Thank you. Hand hug.
Yeah. Exactly. Hand hug to everybody. Susan says, "How do I help others and direct them in the right path without making it harder for them to get help? And then, when they continue to ask me and I am not a therapist." Susan, I could shake you for asking that, but I totally get it. And it's such a common question. What would you say to her, Lou?
Well, how do I help others and not make them dependent on me? Is that the question?
How do I help others and direct them in the right direction without making it harder for them to get help when they continue to ask me and I am not their therapist? I.e., as I read it, how do I help others and not collude with their inaction? That's how I hear it.
Right. Well, that's why I'm, always going to try to bring the conversation back to spirit source in some form, because until, you and I can do our human best, and we do, of course, with the people that we get to work with in this way. But everyone needs to make this journey into themselves and for themselves. Everyone is made in the likeness and image of our Creator. And we need to seriously take that to heart at this point and come to terms with that we have these resources inside of us. If one person can do it, anyone can do it. If a man can do it, a woman can do it. If a woman can do it, a man can do it. Theoretically, it's possible. So we have to help each other break out of this mental prison, of victimhood and powerlessness and addiction that we've all inherited, and say, I'm more than this.
Yeah, and that's what I'd add to it, because Susan, again, you and I get you. and this is so relevant to other people, what I would say to that question, and just because I have the privilege, Susan, of knowing you a bit better, is that you are experiencing the most acceptable addiction in our culture, which is compulsive helping.
Right, codependence.
Heavily with people pleasing. You're in the process of absenting yourself from a lifelong addiction, probably at least 3 decades, which is, you know, we do anything for 10,000 hours. We're an expert in that thing. What I would say to you is,
right.
Goodbye to this person you're talking about particularly, but also other people, is we cannot lead and breastfeed other people to help them without pacifying them and taking their power away by push, this is what you need. It's a complete avoidance strategy of you looking at yourself. So what I would say is stop, bearing in mind you're on a 31-day challenge, my love. Stop trying to help others. Look at yourself and use this as a tribe of people to essentially talk to say, I'm in abstinence at the moment. I'm giving up a drug at the moment, which is to help everybody else and not me. Help me out. Is somebody else having a similar experience? How can I be there? I'm withdrawing from the addiction of helping others and doing everything for others and not me. Help. And stop helping anybody else, because you cannot heal. None of us can heal from a place where we get busy in the lives of other people, breastfeeding them when they don't want our help because it's not helping them. And then we are robbing ourselves of us. And then we get to play the victim because they're depleting us, which is a cop-out. And again, said with love. I know Susan's a tough.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's codependence to me, you know, and codependence is this hidden agenda where conscious agreements, conscious relationships are based on conscious agreements, where you and I make a date and we keep our promises and we both leave happy because we've given and received what we expected to give and receive. And it's all above board and it's honest and responsible. Unconscious agreements, codependence, addiction is we have a hidden agenda, we have a secret agenda, we have a lie that we're covering up, we have pain that we're protecting, and we don't want to be honest and we don't want to be sincere with each other.
Yeah. And often driven by, I'm not enough as I am. I have to please you. If I please you, then I'm okay. Then I'm safe. Then I won't get rejected. Then I won't get judged. Then I won't get punished. Just make sure that you're okay. And I'm doing everything I possibly can to make you okay. And then I'll be okay. And that's compulsive helping. Or, you know, this idea that when we're rejected consistently in life, it breeds obsession. Rejection breeds obsession. So we're looking obsessively to get our sense of love and connection by helping someone else codependently. And it's suffocating for everyone.
Sure. Well, also the thing is, that's right. And the thing is that, you know, you can disagree with me or Susan can disagree with you, however you want to put it. But if you don't reject yourself, you know, rejection is where I agree with your interpretation of not being happy with what I've done or said. Whereas, you know, honesty, integrity, healthy boundaries say, look, I'm going to be the best example of what I believe is true for me with you in this situation, and then you can take it or leave it. It's entirely up to you. And if you reject it, you're not rejecting me, you're rejecting what I'm offering that you're perceiving.
Yeah, wow. And that's such an inspired place to be able to reside as well, to not take it personally, to not make it about you.
Right. And exactly, hun. And you see, when you have a living, breathing relationship with a loving higher power, and you let that be your inspiration and your guidance in your life, whatever words you use or don't use, then it takes the personal responsibility, the burden of trying to be perfect out of the picture, and you could just dance with the mystery every day and see who shows up in your movie and say, here's what I've been given today to dance with about my relationship to the mystery. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. What can I learn from this? How can I use it to be even better, bigger, healthier, more inspired version of me?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right, exactly. There are no accidents or coincidences.
I don't believe in accidents or coincidence for that matter. It's all meant to be pushing us along
that's
the way.
third dimensional thinking. That's exactly, that's old-fashioned thinking. It's not, we know it's not true.
Jane says, how do I stop my own fear of failure and lack of stopping me being the artist that spreads positivity through creativity? How do I stop my own fear of failure and lack?
Be on your side, not on your case.
Brilliant. I love that. Can
Thank
you say
you.
a bit more what you mean?
Sure. Well, so when I do sessions, you know, often we close our eyes, we turn within, we put our hands to the heart, and we say, I love you, I accept you, I forgive you, and I set you free. And we do that. That's the inner child affirmations that I've learned from my guides. And I recommend everyone do that, and also do the mirror work that Louise Hay talks about, where you look in the mirror and you say, I love you, I accept you, I forgive you, I set you free.
And you keep the gaze with yourself.
Yes, exactly. Because like you've said so beautifully, Hun, you know, we all carry these shadows from our family and our parents. And it happens as children, and it happens through trauma, and it goes straight into the emotional body, straight into the unconscious mind. And then we wonder why we're not strong enough, beautiful enough, brilliant enough, whatever enough to break free, until we make that descent into the shadow inside of us. I know you know this. We don't have access to the light that is beneath that, our original self, our God self, if you like. The Drunvalo says to get to the higher self, you've got to go through the inner child. So when we cry and scream, when we support women to grieve, to express anger and rage and have a voice, and for men to grieve and open their hearts, then we're going, oh, I can feel and I can express and I can be free. And then you have access to your resources that you can respond to and pull your authentic power out. That's what I believe.
Big time. Because that child in us all that is very much alive and well and always has been is a witness. She or he has witnessed everything. And we've not listened with faith and love. Often we turn on that part of us. You're vulnerable, you're weak, you're pathetic, you have need, and we do to our own child internally what we've experienced others do often, or at least we've felt experience has been, there's no room for me to speak or say my needs or say I'm scared or say I'm whatever. And when we do that to ourselves, part of us, we're attacking in the same way. And of course we'll have the same complaint of others in our lives now, not only in the past, not only in the now, but reflected in our relationships, to say that part of you cannot exist, should not exist, is shame-worthy, is wrong, is whatever. Where that child can inform us. Finally, we can say, what have you seen? What have you heard? I'm going to be here consistently to hear you, and I can prove it because I'm going to do it consistently. What do you need right now? What can I do to help? I remember, actually, this is interesting. I remember doing this work with a guy. It was so psychic, a lot of that work. And we did this visualization piece in a number of different sessions where he would go up to the door. He was a man, and he would go up to the door where he had hidden his inner child away when he was a kid. And it was this big, great big, thick wooden door. And it took us a long time where he would long time, session after session, because he would sit there saying, okay, I know you're behind the door, I'll speak, maybe, listen, maybe.
Well, he's afraid. We're afraid of that vulnerability.
Exactly. So then, you know, he had another session, opened the door, and he sat in front of the door with the child behind, peer, and then he got angry. I don't want to speak to that part of me. And he wouldn't even own that. He would say, I don't want to do it. Fuck it. It's too late, you know, etc., etc. To the point that it went on and on and on, week after week, and it felt really important that we went at his pace. Not that I colluded with his fear or his anger, but that we did it.
No, you held a good space. Yeah, babe, good.
And it got to the point where, you know, we had a session, and he was doubling the child. So he was talking as a child, then himself. Then I was talking as him, doubling him, what he would say to the child. It was really powerful. And it ended up with them hugging and laughing and joyful. And the child in him saying, thank you for hearing me and seeing me. Because ultimately, and it was horrendous, is when he finally described the scene of looking at the child. Because he got into the room, but he wouldn't look at the child. Then he turned his back, etc. And interestingly, wow, I have to say this because it's so profound. It got to the point where he talked to the child and the child was knelt on his knees. And I remember because he had knee issues. And interestingly, by identification, when I met this client, and for 10 weeks, I think, I had cold knees. I couldn't get my knees warm enough. It was like horrible. And I remember saying to my clinical supervisor, this is so, the body never lies. He's had these cold knees. Now I bloody well got cold knees through identification and, you know, love and all of this wonderful stuff. And as he saw that part of him, the child was kneeling on stone, praying.
Right.
And he started to cry and I started to cry because it was very psychic. And he said, I've been praying since he was a kid. And literally in his history as a kid, he would pray on stone in his house. And his knees still effing cold 40-something years later. And he said, I prayed for you to me. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, I used to pray for an angel who would see me.
Right.
And from that moment forth, I had no cold knees, neither did he. But he finally looked at how cold and alone he'd been all that time, praying for somebody to
Well, how afraid. How afraid, really.
And the funny thing with him was, I so had his number from the beginning. The first session I assessed him, you know, I just looked to see, am I the right person for this person? Can someone do a better job than me, etc. And he came in and he said, I'm only really here to hear you tell me that I don't need anything. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to be profound. And it was. But again, you know, how profound that inner part of him then said, I've got so much to tell you, so much, get ready. And they made friends and spoke, and he would often come into sessions or message me to say, I'm getting really good. He would take himself off for lunch, you know, on his own and say, what do I want? And he'd have an ice cream, or he'd do things that he'd never done before that would be about letting him inform himself with this fun child that says, I've never been taken for fun stuff. Let's do something fun. Let's walk in the park.
Sure.
He would often text, I'm in the park with an ice cream, blah, blah, blah. And it was just this beautiful part of him that opened up to himself. Profound.
Yeah, it's never too late. It's never too late to have a happy childhood.
Well, quite. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, sorry. Finish your thought. I interrupted you.
Well, that was it. That him, along with a lot of other people and myself, spent his life and mine and others looking for validation from someone else. The world should, whatever. The world owes me. My dad was this, blah, blah, blah. And of course it doesn't work because that's gone. That's not happened. It was devastating, but we need to do it for ourselves.
That's right. There's no validation outside of love. That's the only validation we need or really want.
Yeah.
You know, when we love ourselves, then we can accept other people's perceptions and opinions without feeling invalidated or validated by them. You know. Right. No, that's a great story. It's a beautiful story, and I mean, both Byron Katie and Eckhart Tolle, who are two, and Neil, everyone, James Twyman, everyone I know who is on the spiritual path has had these moments of deep inner crisis to help them be motivated to look outside of what they've experienced and find the bigger picture. And when you have the willingness to be compassionate and kind and loving to yourself which is what we as healers help people to learn to do, and that we've learned through the healers in our life and our own experience and spirit, etc., all of that, then you realize you can heal anything, but only through love.
Yeah.
And everything else is just details to me.
Yes. Tell me this, because I know someone on the call right now that this is relevant to, but I also know it's relevant to a lot of people. What would you say to someone who feels a bit numbed out, a bit kind of something's wrong, and for 28 years they've tried all kinds of medication, antidepressants, whatever, and they feel numbed out? Clearly that's not working. They're not being taken care of in terms of somebody medically responsible who's checking their meds and so on. What would you say to that kind of person who's desperately trying to get help, but it's not helping?
Well, it's what we said earlier, Poppy. You can't protect your pain and heal it at the same time. And so much of medication is denying my ability to heal my pain. It's protecting it, protecting myself from it. Exactly. It doesn't work. No. It never works. How can it work? Because it's contrary to what your pain is asking for, which is, like you just said, holding the space for 10 weeks with this guy in his cold knees,
Yeah.
I mean, the essence of our work as healers, as I know you know, is to create a space where people know that they are safe, loved, and supported by us, that we respect each other's boundaries, that we're truthful and honest, that we're willing to use our experience and our resources as a place of learning, that we don't know everything and we have always more to learn, but that really the essence of it is people learning to love themselves. So first there's the healing of the denial. I can control my pain. No, you can't. I can heal my pain. No, you haven't. Or, well, what do I need to feel then to heal my pain? Whatever it is, it's grief, anger, sadness. It's guilt, shame, and blame. It's whatever it is. Feel it, feel it, feel it. That's the voice of your wounded inner child. And then when you give that wounded inner child a voice, then your magical inner child now has the strength and the safety and the support to feel safe to be vulnerable, to be honest, to respond to life in an authentic and meaningful way.
Yeah.
That's my speech about that.
This is a marathon in a big way.
I know. We're having a party. I want to say also The Artist's Way is such a wonderful resource for people to heal their wounded inner child. I've used it myself and taught it many times. It's a great gift.
Question from Myra. Poppy and Lou, what is your affirmations for attracting financial abundance? Affirmation.
Right. Well, you go ahead, because you're the master teacher about this, yeah?
Well, I'm not at all, but I'll tell you mine is, and it changes, and I never have had, and I'm sure I won't have this kind of exact thing, but it will be something which is, I guess it's an affirmation. It's kind of an ego stroke, really. It's a confirmation where a part of me or whatever is talking to me saying, you know what's right, which is, what do you need? What do you want? What are you doing to serve others? And what do you need to be doing to get yourself into alignment with that thing? You want to pay the rent? Well, what are you doing about it? What does that woman need to do to be in order to get that? And it's the same with anything. So it's like, particularly relationally, you want a healthy relationship, or you want a guru mentor, or you want someone walking the talk who's healthy, or you want love, or you want whatever. What are you doing to be the kind of person that would attract that? Because you can't be sitting around moaning it's not coming. Meanwhile, I'm withdrawn and hiding and resentful and poor me, and I don't believe I'm going to get it. You're not going to get it. So it's the same for me approach with money, because we've all got a resistant area, and often it's money, sex, food, and everything in between is ultimately, and this I find is profound, that works for people. And it really is a very confronting, okay, get ready, I'm unstoppable part, which is, well, what do you need to be and who do you need to be to get it? Period. It's really a simple thing, but it's confronting.
Right.
Is your behavior
no, that's good.
With what you want?
Right. Right. And that's right. I agree 100%. And am I feeling the vibration of what it is that I'm asking for?
Yeah.
You know, and so to Myra, you know, and I was thinking of Louise Hay and her work with affirmations. You know, there are no magic words, but there are magic feelings that some words help us to get in touch with, like you're saying, you know. And so it's like, however, you know, this is why peace is so dynamic, and so the feminine energy is mysterious and below the surface of all of us. You know, it's not necessarily obvious, but it's always present and it's always available. So when I come back, like you said, beautiful, when we have a struggle in our lives, we've learned to come back to a deeper place of peace, to go below the level of conflict, like flying below the storm or above the storm, however you want to look at it, and come to where the weather is clear in my soul, in my spirit. And then I pray from that place, or I pray to get to that place, or I affirm, you know, in my prayers to get to that place. And when I'm at that place, then that's the place to begin to, you know, magnetize, manifest, imagine, give thanks, this kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
I mean, sorry, I was just going to say, what I honestly do, as I said, I listen to Abraham's meditations. I like Catherine Ponder. There's a woman named Bo Westcott from Australia with her great Aussie accent. You know, all is God, all is love, divine love is flowing into my life. I just, you know, let this wash over me until I come back to sanity and go,
and Eckhart,
right.
Tolle.
Yeah.
I never do his name justice as well. The meditations about abundance and health. And this is exactly the question I was going to read again, Myra. What is the title of Abraham's video, she said?
Right. It's getting into the vortex. And there are 4 15-minute meditations. There's one for general well-being. There's one for physical well-being, financial well-being, and relationship. And you can have them for free on YouTube. And and of course all Abraham's rampages and hot seat questions and all of that is on YouTube as well. But like we're saying, Poppy, you know, because all of us have these busy little lives, you know. And you know, the mind just goes, you know, the mind is surfing up and down all the time. It's always in search of more information. So again, what if we have these, like you do, your discipline, you know, your daily spiritual grounding practices that, you know, the commitment to living a spiritually authentic life, to my mind, is, as you're doing and as I'm doing, you know, that every day I use these tools and techniques and practices that help me to open more fully to the kind of life that I want to be living and the kind of work that I want to be giving to people about all of this.
Yeah. Here is a powerhouse question that I think is worth sharing. Share the video for this, which is Myra again. I'm loving your questions, my love. Question: how do you differentiate between intuition, guidance, and fear, ego, ideas?
Right. Well, that's it exactly. I mean, those are great questions, and half the answer is already there because you're well on your way, every one of you on this call here. What a brilliant group! I mean, Poppy, this is why I love having these sessions with you, sweetheart, because you have such an enlightened group there. I'm
aren't we,
you know,
brilliant?
spoiled with all this.
Brilliant people. These are my family. I love you.
Exactly. I'm loving them too. It's wonderful. I mean, like she said there in the question, fear is the ego. The ego is fear. You know, there's a healthy ego, there's a loving ego, there's a spiritual ego. There is such a thing as a spiritual sense of identity. You know, Paul McCartney, you know, whoever, you know, Meryl Streep, you know, Tom Hanks. There are people that do great things in the world that navigate with everyone else's projections and expectations at a very high level. And they're great masters because they've learned to not let their own inner needs and desires be constrained by the impact that they have on the world. They have that freedom to still be themselves out in public, etc., etc. And I think this is what all of us are learning about healing the ego these days. So your intuition is always going to be, to my experience, loving, supportive, inspiring, and empowering, and positive. It's not about competing, comparing, or controlling with anyone else. It's allowing and inviting everyone else to have their own experience and perception. That's why no one can validate or invalidate us. We do that for ourselves, and when we're inspired and empowered, then our intuition is leading the charge.
And incidentally, and this
is basically it's like Bashar.
It's like what?
Yeah.
Basically,
sorry, I'm just going to say, I want to hear what you have to say. Well, Bashar talks about following your excitement. And so you do one thing while you're excited about it, then when that runs out of gas, you find the next thing that you're excited about. That's how you stay in touch with your intuition throughout the day.
Yes. And when we move from that place, because, you know, a lot of people are very fearful, obviously, that if I communicate to other people from that place, risks involved, because maybe, because of course there's the doubt that creeps in is maybe it won't be well received. Maybe this is why we need to beat our brain and make a movement within 5 seconds before ego kicks in. But I have example after example, and I'm sure you do, anybody watching this, where we make a movement to communicate from that place of authenticity, that place of intuition, and people love it. Love it. Obviously, there's going to be psychology of people who, you know, if I talk about this often, when we get jealousy or envy or nastiness or judgment or whatever, always without fail, that's going to be people who see a part of you alive that they don't own in themselves, and they try and cut it off in you or attack it in you because they don't feel worthy of talking freely or being authentic or making mistakes or whatever. Whatever it is, it's their stuff, nothing to do with you. But we're so much more connectable with when we're in a place that says, this is me. Perfect example, I'm going to do it to you again. One of my students, I asked people to do all kinds of challenges, one of which is to expose themselves more in different ways. And she was talking to us, reading from notes, because of an internal thing, I'm sure. And this happens to so many people, because I don't want to forget something, and without my notes, then I'll forget or whatever. And we challenged her to put the notes away and talk straight to camera. And she was so much more contactable with and inspiring to others, because then other people could go, oh, so I don't have to rely on something, and I can pause and I can question and I can be human. I don't have to be this, you know, Oprah Winfrey on the stage smashing it. I can be this human being. And that's what lights us up, is the idea that we can be human, and it's actually endearing. It's actually igniting and inspiring. It's not this shame attack of, oh, you made a mistake, therefore I'm going to cut you off or judge you or spit on you. And those people are the people who are not in the arena. It's like Brene Brown says, you know, man in the arena, my favorite quote. Unless you're in the arena doing the doing, getting messed up and embarrassed and, you know, blood and sweat on your face, and unless you're in there, but you want to be instead, you know, throwing stones down from the stalls looking at the arena, fuck you, basically. Unless you're doing it, you've got no, I'm not going to hear you, a judgment, because that's going to be your stuff about your fear about failure and so on. And that's the thing I see time and time again. That people are contactable with, but the thing I often hear is, well, when I'm more confident, then I'll do it, which is kind of like,
well, but
the confidence comes from doing it.
That's right. It's catch-22, exactly. You know, you get the confidence through the willingness to fail, basically.
Yes.
And the willingness to risk failure.
Well, and allowing the reparative experience where you do something that is vulnerable, where you cannot predict the outcome of how people will respond, and you allow through the doing the experience of being met and invited and loved for it and accepted. And when we don't do that,
That's
we
right.
stay withdrawn. We can only keep the story going that if I expose myself, then X. We don't get the opportunity for a new experience. If I'm never looking at you because I'm fearful you might, I don't know, see my humanity or judge me, I'm never going to have the opportunity to look you in the eye to see, oh, he's not squinting at me or judging. Oh, he actually likes me. Oh, we don't get that opportunity without the doing. And I meet people all the time who say, well, I'm a bit depressed now. So when I feel better then, and it's like, well, you're screwed with that approach. And I know because I've done it and I teach it. And I know people like you who say the same thing.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful, honey. I mean, this is, you're doing a great job as always. I'm loving this whole conversation here. I mean, I've been an actor, and
I didn't know that.
I grew up acting, and I wrote on TV for a while, and did theater in high school, and was in a rep program professionally for a little while, and singing and playing music, and doing groups and channeling, and channeling in front of people, and all this, being naked before the world is the way one of my teachers, describes what we're talking about here, which is, like you said, it was beautiful, the whole process of discovery. We all have a song in our soul, is the way Wayne Dyer puts it, and the mission is to not die with your music still inside of you. Yeah, and so you see, when we're finding our voice and helping each other to come out from behind this wall of pain and fear and numbness, etc., then we're saying, it's worth the risk. It's worth the vulnerability. It's worth the dance. And what I hear from another one of my guides is that, we can focus on the fear or the pain and like you said, stay there forever, or we can focus on the love, the hope, the inspiration, the excitement, the humility, the mystery about having a deeper relationship with what we call God, etc., and be willing to change our mind.
Yeah, and that part is alive in us all. And what I would, how I guess I just right now, what I'm thinking to identify it as is the healthy adult. So as we know, I've worked in psychiatry. I've worked with really challenged people. I've worked with murderers. I've worked with really, criminally challenged people who have all kinds of wonderful reasons why the parts of them are disturbed or cut off or childlike or whatever. We all have that, psychotics and psychopaths and so on. We all have that ability to get in right in there to say, what would the healthy adult wise self in you do now or say now? And when we can talk to that bit, we can achieve anything.
Right.
And this
right.
But we're not taught to listen to that part or find that part or identify with that part. We're looking for the healthy adult that did the right thing, that's going to do the right thing, that's going to fix us. And it's futile and devastating because it ain't there. It's never happening.
Right. Yes, exactly. I mean, what I hear my guide saying is, we forgot that we have a higher self.
Yes.
We forgot that we were spiritual beings. We've, as they say, we've created a dream that's so real, we've forgotten that we've created it, and we've forgotten that it's a dream. And now we are, like you're expressing so beautifully, we're brave enough and driven enough and hungry enough that we want to live in a world that's meaningful and joyous and authentic, and people are geniuses and masters and creating, magnificent masterpieces and brilliant inventions that free us from this illusion of struggle and separation and loneliness and fear and death. And it's all there for us. It's all there for us to have. But the price of that freedom is giving up our addiction to fear. Yes,
of loss and judgment and
of anything, fear of anything, fear. All fear is every fear. It's all the same fear. It's all an illusion of separation. It's all saying, You're not enough and there isn't enough. So every time we get over any fear, we have added more love to the world.
Oh,
every time we heal. Yeah, thank
Share
you.
the video.
And that's what we're here to do.
Oh, please share the video for that statement alone, my wonderful friends. Jill's saying, how do you finally let it go, though?
Well, there's no way to let it go without forgiving yourself. You haven't failed. You haven't made a mistake. You haven't lost your chance. You're still alive. You're still putting on your pants every day. You're still drawing breath. You have another opportunity, another whole lifetime tomorrow. You know, build a bridge and get over yourself. This is your chance to free your spirit. Seize it. You know, be good to yourself and seize your opportunities.
And I would love always to encourage people with any of this, not tomorrow, when I wake up tomorrow. Again, we can do anything, start now. Anything, start now. If you move to do something to feel better about yourself, to set notifications for Lou's lives, Monday to Friday, or mine, do it now, not tomorrow. I've lost 3 people I know to death already this year. Already. That's profound. 150 people will die today and will die tomorrow globally, because that's the statistic we're dealing with at the moment. Please don't start tomorrow. If you want to get hold of me or Lou, do it now. I am. It doesn't matter if we're friends or not. Get on I am. Email us. What's your email, Lou?
lightheart2018@gmail.com.
lightheart2018@gmail.com. This is one of the, you know, those that know me, again, I have a list of people that I refer to as clinicians, you know, brilliant minds, basically, who I know the minds of others are profoundly safe in. Not only that, but it's just powerhouse, crazy wonderfulness. Lou's one of them. And again, you know, what's on my list?
Thank you.
I'm sure there are fantastic, brilliant people. I know there are, but there's probably about 11 on my list, of which Lou's shining there, stars and stripes and wonderfulness in the best, most cosmic way.
Thank you.
Get on it. Don't wait till tomorrow. You may not be here tomorrow. Nothing's promised. Nothing.
Well, I think we've done a good work today, my friend. You and I
too.
together, and all of our friends here. Yeah, definitely.
Should we say love and light and goodbye for now?
I think we can do. Yeah, I think we've, you know, is there more we want to touch on? That feels very good for me for the moment here.
Me too. Me too. I hope people have got a lot from it, I'm sure. And I hope you guys share the wealth. You know, it may just be somebody clicks on the video and there's one thing that just shifts them for the better. It'd be beautiful to share the wealth. I'm just double checking.
Exactly.
There's nothing that we're missing here. So many engagements and comments. Perhaps we could look over and answer any questions that we haven't looked at.
Sure. Yes, I'd be glad to. And as I've
aren't we fantastic?
Thank you.
So
we are having a good time.
You're on tomorrow, 9 a.m. UK Ireland for your morning prayers.
Yes.
And I'm on 6:30 a.m. tomorrow for Happiness Campaign. So come join us. Come be part of, look at the incredible people on this tribe. So let's cross-pollinate
fantastic session, Poppy. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Don't know us. Goodbye. See you soon. Thank you, Lou,
exactly.
very much.
Will do.
Bye, everybody.
All right, sweetheart. Thanks a million. Much love. Well done.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.